What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 15MHA Chapter 351 Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Hey look, who is that? An operator inside the US Space Agency called out in shock. At this moment, dozens of operators and officers in the space agency heard the sound, and when they saw the satellite image, they were all shocked. Are these two people? An officer smacked his tongue. To be precise, two people are sitting on two chairs with a table in front of them, another person added.
We are not blind. Of course we can see what you can see. What I only care about is how the two people do it, or that the two are not people.
Enlarge the screen, turn on the audio function, and see what those two guys are doing there. At the same time, in China, in Russia, in India, in Dubai, in island countries, in the space agency around the world, all saw this picture.
Although the space agency has confidentiality regulations, it is difficult to stop the video from flowing out. At this moment, the video has been uploaded to some websites. Although the image looks a little fuzzy, it can still be distinguished between two people.
This really shocked the teeth of too many people. Outside the atmosphere, in the universe, there are still people alive, and there are tables and chairs. If there are two more tea sets on the seat, you would think that you can drink tea in the universe. This picture was suddenly terminated in the outside world, and the insiders began to observe what the two people in the universe were doing. Talk nonsense. Wanian was trembling with anger at this time, and the two guys were sitting in Gangshi space in front of him, looking like an old god was there. They almost took a teapot out to drink tea. By the way, I still have some good tea. Let's taste it. Chi Feng then took out a box of tea leaves, took out the tea set, and finally took out a pot of hot water to make tea. In Chi Feng's 3-meter range, it belongs to Chi Feng's own domain, which is the domain of air manipulation. No matter what you do in this domain is the same as on the earth, so the tea will not float, and the water will not float. My god, what do you think the two of them are doing? Numerous voices rang out in the NASA images around the world. Damn, these two gods are actually going to drink tea? Someone exclaimed. Drinking tea in the universe, I have only seen it in my life, it is really worth it to die. Someone sighed. At this moment, an electric fan was spinning on the man's head, and it suddenly fell off, cutting off his head directly. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Too many people are talking about Chi Feng and Xiao Beiqiao, but Chi Feng and Xiao Beiqiao are completely ignorant at the moment and are making tea. You too, don't deceive people too much, Wanian said tremblingly. It's rare for a strong person like her to be angry like this, but being angry can affect Dao Xin. But these two people are too damn it, she can only watch but can't kill. Where did the voice come from? The space agencies everywhere responded with this, because there was indeed a voice just now, but no one was seen. The satellite started looking for the source of the sound, but it didn't find anything. You have to wait here, then I can only drink tea to relieve my boredom, and see who consumes it. Chi Feng put the brewed tea on his nose and smelled it, then saw a good tea, and sipped it. One mouthful, endless aftertaste. Xiao Beiqiao also took a sip of the teacup. To be honest, drinking tea in the universe is absurd, but it really happened, not to mention that drinking tea in this mood has a special flavor. Time was running away unconsciously, and Chi Feng was not idle either. He took the futon that Xiao Beiqiao used to practice before and started to practice. Xiao Beiqiao also needs to practice, but there is no aura in the universe, so Chi Feng gave him a chi training pill. Why do you still have this? Xiao Beiqiao was dumbfounded. Isn't this the pill for building the foundation? The pill he used when he was building the foundation, now Chi Feng actually still has it. At that time, I heard Chi Feng say that this was only the last one left, but that was not the result? Chi Feng casually explained to Xiao Beiqiao. Xiao Beiqiao took the chi pill and began to practice. There may be many eyes staring at this place, so he must be careful when speaking. Seeing that Chi Feng and Xiao Beiqiao actually started to practice, Wanian was already a little numb. She couldn't practice high in the sky. It would take effort to maintain this height, let alone practice. There is no time to practice. Chi Feng and Xiao Beiqiao's practice took just 1 week. Wanian has been waiting in the original position for 1 week. At this moment, Chi Feng's cultivation level has been steadily rising. I felt a little hungry without eating for a week. Chi Feng raised his hand and took out some food to share with Xiao Beiqiao. Xiao Beiqiao was actually too hungry for a long time, but he couldn't bother Chi Feng. Originally, he would not be hungry at all when he practiced for a week during the foundation period, but now that his cultivation level has stabilized at the 4th level of Chi training, he will be hungry much faster than during the foundation period. The two began to devour and eat, and everyone in front of the satellite image at the moment was confused. These two guys sat motionless for a week before, and now they actually took out something to eat, those things. Where did it come from? Not everyone knows about nano storage boxes. Although nanotechnology is popular, there are very few people who can use them. The price of a nano storage box is very high, and the average person cannot afford it. As a result, some people don't know where Chi Feng's food comes from. Hua Nianyan finally took a breath and said, "You have a kind, and if you have a kind, don't come back forever." After saying this, Hua Nianyan turned around and left. She didn't have so much time to wait for the two ants. The affairs in the sect needed to be dealt with. It is very likely that junior brother Fang already knew that his nephew was dead. Walk slowly and don't give it away. Chi Feng smiled slightly, but there was no smile at all. This old lady has been chasing him for so long and staying guard him for a week. It is so patient. Now that Hua Nianyan is gone, Chi Feng naturally wants to leave, but he has to wait. Sure enough, Chi Feng waited for an hour before he heard a cold snort in the distance. With the disappearance of this cold snort, the depression in Chi Feng's heart completely disappeared. Cunning guy, Chi Feng tweeted, and then put away the tables, chairs and tea sets, and even the leftover food was taken away, but he couldn't leave rubbish in the universe. Can I go now? Xiao Beichao said uncertainly. He didn't want to be chased anymore. Okay, let's go back to the island country directly. Chi Feng transmitted the voice to Xiao Beichao, then rolled him up and flew directly towards the island country. After entering the atmosphere, there is no such threatening feeling. Chi Feng is relieved. The old lady is very insidious. Maybe this time she will go back to deal with the matter or come out to find his trace. Although Chi Feng found it a little troublesome, he did it and did it. Everyone killed him and he didn't regret it. That person should die. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 352 Escort Chi Feng, God Fist Warning advertise here. After entering the atmosphere, Chi Feng received a lot of news, sometimes from North and from his classmates. Aizawa Shota also sent a lot of messages and made a lot of phone calls. Chi Feng didn't check the news, but directly landed on the outskirts of Baosu City. When Chi Feng arrived in Baosu City, he hadn't made any response. The sound of police sirens was remembered around him. A dozen police cars were followed by 7 or 8 armored vehicles, and Chi Feng and Xiao Beichao surrounded Chi Feng and Xiao Beichao. At this time, Chi Feng took out his mobile phone to check the message. Most of the content of the message was to tell Chi Feng not to return to the island country. At the moment, the island country is looking for him. Night Legend Chi Feng, you are already surrounded, please give up resistance. A harsh voice rang from the police car. Xiao Beichao took out the Buddha Chen and looked at Chi Feng and said, "Kill out, these people can't stop us." Chi Feng sneered, looked at Xiao Beichao and said, "Do you want to be the most wanted criminal in the world? What do you do? Can't you still walk with them?" Xiao Beichao frowned and said, "If we walk with them, do you think we can come out?" Chi Feng sighed and said, "The one who should come will always come. This has nothing to do with you. You go first and find a place to hide. Don't be caught by the old lady. I won't be able to come out soon. Please raise your hands and give up resistance." A voice came from the police car again. "Let him leave, I will go back with you." Chi Feng turned his head and motioned to let Xiao Beichao go. "No, both of you will be taken away." The voice in the police car seemed cold and unforgiving. "Do you really think I'm a bully?" Chi Feng's tone became severe. "Set up a weapon," shouted from the police car immediately. Rows of weapons are aimed at Chi Feng and Xiao Beichao. Many weapons are more advanced and seem to be used to deal with superhumans. "Hold on." At this time a voice sounded, and a man walked out of other police cars. This man, Chi Feng, knew him. He also had a few words in the USJ incident. "By the way, it's called Tsukachi Neomasa. Chi Feng, although I don't know why you have come to the point where you are today, it may be a must. Your ability and strength have surpassed most people in ranks at the top of the world." Tsukachi said seriously. Said, "But breaking the law is subject to a ruling, and your identity is also involved in hacking. Do you know that Ua High School has expelled you?" "Ha ha ha, it makes sense," Chi Feng said after a few laughs. "I have never killed good people. I have killed some extremely evil people, but I know that killing is illegal. It's just a matter of time." Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chi Feng, although Dai and the people from the Super League asked our island police to hand over you, we still managed to bear the pressure, so you will not be taken away from the island country, you will only be investigated in the island country. Tsukachi nodded straightly. Said, he knows that it is useless to talk to Chi Feng now, because Chi Feng's vision is no longer comparable to that of their little policeman. Chi Feng sneered in his heart. The island country didn't surrender him because he hoped that he would be investigated in the island country, and the other is that he didn't want strong people like himself to go out. Not even a criminal. "I can go with you, but you have to let him go." Chi Feng pointed his finger at Xiao Beichao who was holding Buddha Chen next to him. Tsukachi Neomasa hesitated and said, "Okay, I can let him go." Police officer in the mound, "Can't let Xiao Beichao go. He is the third emperor of Shibuya and must be taken away for investigation." A young police officer in the police car shouted immediately. "You don't need to intervene in my affairs. I said let him go." Naozuchi looked at all the police cars and armored vehicles and said, "Don't open fire, let him go." At this time, Chi Feng also looked at Xiao Beichao and said, "You go, I will contact you when I look back." "Okay, brother, be careful." Xiao Beichao glanced at Chi Feng deeply, and then quickly left over the police cars and armored vehicles. In fact, Xiao Beichao knew that with Chi Feng's strength, These police cars and armored vehicles were all furnishings. Chi Feng really couldn't stop them if he wanted to go. Maybe he couldn't stop them even for a second. Now Zhao Sukachi didn't care that Chao Beichao was called senior brother Chi Feng, but looked at Chi Feng and said, Chi Feng, follow me in the car. Chi Feng didn't speak, and followed Makauchi straight into the armored vehicle. 6 heavily armed police officers were pointing their guns at Chi Feng. I don't like people pointing a gun at me, Chi Feng said flatly, looking straight at the mound. Put down the gun. Sukachi directly ordered the police officers to put down the gun. Only then did Chi Feng sit quietly in the armored car and drove towards an unknown location after the car started. The arrival of this day was not unexpected. Chi Feng knew that his current identity had been exposed for a long time, and it was a very correct decision to expel him from Yue High School. If he is not expelled, Yue High School will be the most controversial. The Heroes Academy actually cultivated an underground heroes. Although it is not evil, it is even praised by the people, but it is difficult to stop him from being a criminal. Fact. From the moment he came into contact with the underground heroes, Chi Feng knew that there would be today. This day is actually relatively late, because he has grown to such a height, except for the hidden people who can kill him, even in this world don't even want to kill him if he is a strong man in the first god. Chi Feng's consciousness swept out, observing the changes in the surroundings. At this moment, at the end of the empty road stood a man wrapped in a white robe, seeming to block the police from passing. For the police station, get out of the way for irrelevant personnel. The police car at the top turned on the horn and said. The man in the white robe put down the hat on his head, and everyone could see his face clearly. Shenquan. Chi Feng was taken aback for a moment. How could Shenquan come here to stop the police from escorting him? This is Shibuya's #1 Emperor Shenquan. A policeman exclaimed. The name of Shenquan is louder than Chi Feng. After all, Chi Feng has just risen, and Shenquan has been around many years ago. It's already a legend. What is he doing here? Is it to rescue Chi Feng? At this time, the fist opened his mouth. You can't catch him. Get out of the way. Do you want to be an enemy of the island country police? Do you want to be an enemy of the government? Want to be a wanted criminal? The young policeman shouted loudly. At this time, Chi Feng turned into air and floated directly in front of Shenquan, looking at him and said, Senior, I was taken away voluntarily. I will come sooner or later this day. I want to see how they punish me. Chi Feng, it's not worth it for you to do this. I tell you, as long as you walk with them, you won't be able to get out again. Shenquan looked at Chi Feng and said slowly, You are the best one I have ever seen. Young man, I believe you have great secrets. Of course I also have secrets, but I am nothing compared to you. So, you just need to live well. The world is full of darkness. There is always someone to do, and there is always something to be done. If you stop here, the darkness will become more rampant. Shenquan warned with earnest words. Dao. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add chapter 353 Tartarus Prison Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. How did he get there? Some police officers panicked, and Chi Feng stood in front of Shenquan in the blink of an eye, and the two even had a chat. Zukachi got out of the car straight and looked at Chi Feng not far away, saying nothing. Now he knows that if Chi Feng wants to leave, relying on them alone will not work. He can only say that he is not prepared properly this time. Senior, I understand what you said, but if I can't even pass this level, how can I talk about suppressing the dark forces? Chi Feng smiled and said, Trust me, I will come out. Shenquan's clear eyes looked at Chi Feng for a few seconds, and then he said, Okay, since you are determined, I won't say more, take care. I will. Chi Feng nodded. Shenquan once saved his life and helped him a lot. Chi Feng remembers it in his heart. There may be a chance to repay it in the future, but not now. After saying this sentence, the fist directly rose into the air, turning into a golden light and flying towards the distance. At the same time, another car drove up and Chi Feng, who got in and out of the car, also knew him. Best Jeanist, Akishute, and the gangster killer Whale, these three people got out of the car and went directly to Chi Feng. Best Jeanist looked at Chi Feng and said, I saw you take action during the sports festival. To tell the truth, I don't think you were a high school student, but it hasn't been long since then, and my guess has come true. It's really scary for the younger generation. Your achievements are higher than mine, but you are a crime after all and need to be punished. The gang killer Whale looked at Chi Feng up and down, thinking that this kid was innocent, but he knew Chi Feng's strength has been stronger than him. Do you feel uneasy? Even your three professional heroes have come to escort me? Chi Feng smiled. Chi Feng, this is not a place to talk, wait until the destination, Akishat said. Chi Feng did not refute, and returned to the armored vehicle. The three also followed Chi Feng into the armored vehicle to prevent Chi Feng from escaping halfway. In fact, Chi Feng want to fight these three guys to see how capable these three heroes are. Back then, he saw these people as unattainable existence, but now he doesn't have the slightest feeling, he just feels these people are not their opponents. Chi Feng still held back it. If the nature is completely different from these 3 people now, he will completely become the most wanted criminal in the world. Of course, it is impossible to fight a fair duel as these 3 people are in a ring, and it is unrealistic. Chi Feng simply closed his eyes and rested his mind. His spiritual consciousness did not extend outward, so he waited to reach the destination. I don't know how long it took. The car door was opened, a white light came on, and someone outside shouted, "Here's another prisoner. Put his head on. Who dares to FK me?" Chi Feng said immediately. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Some people arrogant you, new criminals are always so arrogant, and you'll know when you get in. There was a disdainful voice from someone outside. At this time, Sukachi Naozao said to the person who was talking, "This person doesn't need a headgear." Huh? The man said strangely, "Why is this prisoner so special?" Don't ask too much. Sukachi Naomasa did not answer this question. After Chi Feng got out of the car, he swept his spiritual consciousness out. The next moment he knew where it was. Tartarus. This place is a place where prisoners are specially detained. The crimes are extremely heinous. As long as they are against the country or criminals of a certain level of strength will be held here. Chi Feng didn't expect the island police to bring him here directly. Has his strength been classified as AFO? Since they are all here, Chi Feng has no plans to escape now, and he can go directly into the air when he wants to go, unfettered. Let's go. Sukachi looked straight at Chi Feng and said. Chi Feng followed Naozao Suikai and 3 other professional heroes into the Tartarus prison. This prison is above the ocean. It seems very tight. Most of the prison is at the bottom, that is, inside the sea. Chi Feng followed Makauchi and took the elevator down to the 10th floor. Here, one layer of defenses was tight, and he walked to the very end. There was a well-renovated cell room. Mr. Chi Feng let Chi Feng go in. Chi Feng hesitated for a while and walked in. There is not much space inside, only 20 square meters, nothing but pinhole cameras. After the door was closed, Naozai in the mound ordered people to register. Chi Feng clearly saw that the registered tablet read, "The Legend of the Night, Chi Feng, life imprisonment." Police officer, what do you mean? Chi Feng asked with a smile. Naozao Sukachi didn't understand the meaning of Chi Feng's words, and asked, "What are you talking about?" Chi Feng smiled and turned into a sneer. Life imprisonment, you didn't even have a sentence, so you just gave me life imprisonment, you want to keep me here for the rest of my life? Why are you? His face changed slightly. He didn't let Chi Feng see him when he registered, and how did he know that the other party was locked up in the room? Isn't Chi Feng just a double quirk, but a triple quirk? Chi Feng, since you have entered Tartaro's prison, don't even think about going out again. Although I don't know why you didn't resist, since you have come in, it can be considered as an explanation. Paper-front shooter IG Shoot said. I'm telling you a shit. Chi Feng said angrily. I'm here to accept the sentence. I want to know how you publicly sentenced me, instead of coming here and being sentenced to life imprisonment. It's useless for you to say anything now. You don't need to be sentenced in court for your sins, so this is your final destination. Just stay honestly. Akisho sneered. Okay, great. Chi Feng suddenly laughed. Do you think this kind of place can trap me? Ha 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 Chi Feng, if you don't believe that this can trap you, just try it, the gangster orca laughed. This Chi Feng is really silly and cute. This is not an ordinary criminal shelter, but Tartarus. Chi Feng opened his right hand when he heard the words, and the Thor's stick was directly condensed, and he swung the stick against the glass. This kind of place trapped him. Chi Feng is strange. Boom. But the next moment Chi Feng was bounced directly against the wall, and there was an invisible protective layer in front of the glass that blocked Chi Feng's power. Chi Feng doesn't believe in evil. This time he compressed the air and punched it out. The effect of hitting the protective layer was still the same. Not only did it not break the protective layer, but it would also receive a rebound attack. Ha 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 I said it's useless. There are too many extraordinary people in this world, so the crime rate will increase. Tartarus is the place where the top powerhouses are imprisoned. The defenses here are not even all might. Besides, it's you. Maybe you have reached the legendary realm, but what about it? You can't get out. The gangster orca's stomach hurts with laughter, and Chi Feng really thinks he's invincible, thinking go out, go out. Chi Feng tried to transform into air, but when he was about to transform into air, he was suddenly stopped by an invisible force, which means that elementalization can be prevented here.
A heart suddenly sank. Chi Feng's expression was a little ugly. Do you really want to stay in such a ghost place for a lifetime?
Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 354, Unbreakable Protective Film Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Naozao Sukuchi looked at Chi Feng after registering Chi Feng's sentence. Tartaros has 11 floors. From the first floor, the space is the largest. The space becomes smaller and tighter as you go down. You are detained. This floor, and it's the last room, dedicated to the place where god-level powerhouses are imprisoned. But you don't have to be imprisoned on the last floor. There are 20 rooms on the last floor. Now there are only 7 people in it. Each of these 7 people is stronger than you. It can be said that except for the 7 people, Outside you are the strongest in this prison, and it is worthy of the name to detain you in the last room on the 10th floor. 1 or 2 criminals on the 11th level are over 100 years old. It is estimated that they will not last long. You will soon become like them, giving up resistance and everything. The gang killer whale finished this sentence. Looking at Tsukachi Naomasa and Akishode. Let's go. Tsukachi looked straight at Chi Feng and said guiltily. I'm sorry that I deceived you before, but there is no way. I can only kidnap you with morals, and you will come with me willingly. Chi Feng just looked straight at the mound but didn't say anything. Now it's too late to say anything. He must leave here, otherwise everything will be a cloud. As Shenquan said, once you get in, you can't get out again. At first, Chi Feng didn't care about Shenquan's words. After all, his strength lies here. He thought he could come out no matter what, so he wanted to see how the Island National Police Department would judge him. As a result, he was brought directly to Tartaro's prison, a place where heavyweight criminals were detained. He thought he would be able to get out of the trap. As a result, the structure and defenses in this room were so strong that he was plunged into crisis. Seeing that Chi Feng was unwilling to speak, Tsukachi Naosi left with the gangster killer whale and Akishit. After the 3 people left, the place instantly became quiet, only the white light was extremely bright. Chi Feng looked around at the surrounding pinhole cameras. There are a total of 8, which can be said to be all-round death. Kakuzu took care of it, focusing on monitoring. The key Chi Feng can't destroy these pinhole cameras. In Chi Feng's impression, the AFO was held in Tartaro's prison, but I don't know where it is actually held. It may be the 10th or the 11th floor. Life is sometimes full of drama. He, a self-proclaimed righteous man, ended up being caught in prison, and he is also a prison for severe prisoners. Is it possible that the human setting of a good person collapsed in this world? He is not a bad person, Chi Feng. The surroundings were extremely quiet. Chi Feng swept his spiritual sense out. He soon saw criminals confined in the room. These criminals didn't even have the right to move. They were all fixed to death, like a vegetative person. Only then did Chi Feng find some comfort, at least he was not treated like this. In other words, there is no chance to communicate with people in this ghost place, it is too quiet. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The mobile phone has no signal, and the computer cannot play games. Even if he can play Chi Feng, he has no thoughts, he wants to leave here soon. Night Legend was sent to Tartarus. I must not be able to get out in this life. Inside the Iron Alliance headquarters, Yindi said calmly. Unexpectedly, this Chi Feng was so courageous, he actually led a mysterious powerhouse to the Super League, and even Thanos died. It's a pity, I couldn't kill him personally. Yin shook his head and said regretfully. Chief Fu stood aside and didn't speak. The attractor was indeed very strong, but he didn't think the attractor could kill the legend of the Dark Knight. The fact that Chi Feng was arrested in Tartarus prison spread across the entire underground heroes world in an instant, and some people who wanted Chi Feng's revenge were also discouraged and regretted. Ida Tenya and his classmates had trouble meeting Chi Feng and couldn't get into Tartaro's prison. Aizawa Shota told the students that Chi Feng would never get out after entering Tartaro's prison. Everyone feels sad. The classmates did not expect to reach this point. Everyone believes that Chi Feng is a good person, but he needs to pay attention to the law to live in the world. It doesn't matter if you are a good person or a bad person if you violate the law, it is treated equally. Pingyuan Yuda, Banshin Jinsang, Matsuzaki and Muto are all hurting their minds hiding somewhere at the moment. Chi Feng, as their boss, is also a friend, so they will never come back. It's not that I'm worried about Chi Feng's salary or something. After all, after so long together, individuals will have feelings. The same goes for Bai Shuilongki, Nishio Yuda and other friends who have been in love with each other. Chi Feng can be said to have a promising future, but it happened that he died at such a young age. No one knew that Chi Feng entered Tartaro's prison voluntarily. Chi Feng also thought that he would be able to come out. He left when he wanted to, but the result was like this. At this time, Chi Feng held the rusty iron sword and rolled up Yuanli, and then slashed it on the protective film in the room. Boom! A violent counterattack came. Chi Feng stepped back and dropped his hands somewhat weakly. This was the 4th time he attacked the protective film by various means. Up to now, the protective film in the room was trembling violently. Every time Chi Feng thought that he could tear off the protective film would automatically heal again. With a steady stream of energy replenished, Chi Feng can't break this protective film no matter how much he cuts. This guy has been attacking for 3 days, and I think he is about to give up. A group of people in the general surveillance room of Tartaro's prison looked at Chi Feng's surveillance screen and ridiculed. Let's bet, I think this guy will have to attack for 2 more days before giving up. I will pay 1,000, a prison guard said. I think he has to give up today, and I will also pay 1,000, another prison guard said. Next, more prison guards joined in, betting on when Chi Feng would give up the attack. Chi Feng didn't know that a group of prison guards were gambling with him at this time. What he is thinking now is that the protective film is a bit weird, and it is likely that some kind of energy is providing it to repair it. Anything and any defense will leave traces when it is attacked. After a long period of time, it will drip through and be breached, but Chi Feng can't see this kind of water dripping through the stone. He felt that even if he attacked the protective film for a year, the result would still be the same. At this time, Chi Feng calmed down instead, put away the rusty iron sword in his hand, walked to the middle of the room and took out the training futon to start practicing. What is this guy doing? Meditating, the guard said in a puzzled way. Don't say these are useless, get the money soon, you lose, another prison guard laughed, and just started betting on the other party and lost. It doesn't count now, do you know if he will attack again? The guard retorted. Okay, then wait for a while, if he keeps doing this, you have to pay. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 355 Ultimate Realm Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. After Chi Feng absorbed the Chi pill, he ate another one. The time passed without knowing it. Every time someone came to deliver meals, the food was just too bad. Just some white rice and some vegetables, the dog eats better than him. Chi Feng didn't eat any food here at all. There was a lot of food in his own warehouse, and he would not eat any food until he practiced for at least a week now. Those prison guards who bet that Chi Feng will continue to attack have already lost money at this moment, and some prison guards are still very angry, spitting out Chi Feng's meal, wanting to be sick Chi Feng. Chi Feng doesn't eat this set. He doesn't even take care of the food delivery people, and only cares about his own practice. A week later, Chi Feng finished his meal as usual and was about to continue his practice when he came straight to the mound. I've been here for more than a week, are you still used to it? Chi Feng Jijung held a notebook in his hand and stood outside the glass window looking at Chi Feng. Chi Feng stood up, pointed his finger at the food on the side and said, "That's how you treat me." Sukachi straightly glanced at the food Chi Feng was referring to, and sighed helplessly. This is the rule. You only need to guarantee your daily meals, but the quality is not guaranteed. I can't help you with this, busy. Chi Feng suddenly smiled. It doesn't matter anymore, what are you doing today? Naozai Sukachi glanced at Chi Feng in surprise. Although this guy is very strong, he is very young. Young people rarely have Chi Feng's temperament, and may not cooperate with him for a long time. I'm here to ask you about the Villain Alliance. I know you have fought with the Villain Alliance many times, so I want you to tell me where is the nest of the Villain Alliance? Sukachi said seriously. Chi Feng frowned. Is the police officer going to attack Villain Alliance? Following the normal world trajectory, Bakugo Katsuki in the forest began to attack the Villain Alliance after being captured by the Villain Alliance, but after Chi Feng's intervention, the Villain Alliance did not capture anyone. So the trajectory was changed, and some things were also changed. Chi Feng directly told the location of Villain Alliance's lair, that AFO will fight All Might sooner or later, which is inevitable. Once he knew the location, Sukachi immediately informed the professional heroes painfully that he was going to wipe out the Villain Alliance. Chi Feng continued to practice after he left straight in the mound. The prison guards in the monitoring room gradually didn't care about Chi Feng, thinking that Chi Feng might be stupid, sitting there motionless every day. In this way, another 2 days passed. At this time, no one cared about Chi Feng. Chi Feng was directly ignored like many prisoners. At a certain moment, Chi Feng suddenly opened his eyes, raised his hand and took out a tube of Type E reagent and drank it directly. It took Chi Feng a second to do this, almost a blink of an eye. Then there is the second tube, the third tube, the fourth tube, the fifth tube, the sixth tube. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. No one cares about Chi Feng, and no one cares about Chi Feng's actions, just like he is air. 3 a.m. Chi Feng suddenly opened his eyes, stood up, and a blue lightning mark appeared on the back of his right hand. He stretched his hands forward, opened his hands, and slid to the side. A long blue stick appeared and was firmly held by Chi Feng. After more than a week of hard work, it should have completely diverted the attention of those prison guards. It was at this time that he could absorb the E-type reagent and turn it into experience. Hard work paid off. Chi Feng finally raised Thor to the level of LV10. He didn't believe that the power of LV10 could not break the so-called protective film. These days, Chi Feng has a hunch in his heart that if he doesn't leave here, the old lady at Huashan Hidden Gate will come over. Chi Feng doesn't think that the old lady from the late Jindan period will not be able to come here. For Jindanshi, this place is useless. The Thor's stick in his hand has become the ultimate magic weapon, and the feeling that Chi Feng holds in his hand seems to have grasped a world. The power is surging, and Chi Feng used more than 100 tubes of Type E reagent in exchange for it, and only one of the quirks can be upgraded to LV10. Then, it's time to go out. Chi Feng held the Thor's stick with one hand, tucked it around his waist, and then slammed it forward. Awake, layers of ripples above the protective film appeared, and Chi Feng felt the tremor of the protective film. Why did that guy suddenly start attacking in the middle of the night? Several prison guards woke up when they were startled and saw Chi Feng holding a blue stick in his hand. The ghost knows what his nerves are. He has attacked for several days without results. Do you think that the attack defense will be weaker in the middle of the night? A prison guard sneered. Let's just watch and see how long this guy can make it. Chi Feng just showed off a part of his strength, and the protective film has already produced a sense of ripple, which is stronger than his previous violent attack. Chi Feng suddenly smiled at the pinhole camera, and then said, "Those guys who add ingredients to my meals, Wait for me to deal with things and then come back to you. Ha 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 ha. What is this kid talking about? Are you mad? The prison guards had a pain in their laughter after hearing Chi Feng's words. It's really a problem with my brain that I even thought about it. If I say this kind of thing in the middle of the night, I will laugh when I hear it. Chi Feng retracted his gaze, and the thunder god's stick in his hand suddenly burst out with a dazzling white light. The white light lit up like daytime, and the whole room was illuminated without seeing anything at all. What's the matter? The prison guards laughed for a while and looked dumbfounded, and they couldn't see anything on the screen. It's not good. The guard shouted in the next moment. Look at the defense data. X10M area, the defense system is suffering damage. The defense system is damaged. 0.20%. 0.45%. 0.68%. Impossible. He is damaging the defense system. The prison guards were shocked. Chi Feng has been damaged 68%, and the defense system will be destroyed directly. Hurry up and send someone over, we must stop him, someone shouted. The defense system is damaged. 0.84%. 0.96%. 0.100%. However, it was too late. Chi Feng held the Thor's stick and directly smashed the protective film in front of him, and was shattered along with the glass window. The person rushed to the elevator entrance like a beam of light, raised his hand to tear open the elevator and went down. Rushed up quickly. Boom. The ceiling of Tartaro's prison suddenly broke open, and Chi Feng was like a sharp sword out of its sheath, drawing a bright white light from the horizon and disappearing into the sea. Chi Feng has a hunch that All Might will fight AFO to the death tomorrow night, and he must arrive. At the same time that Chi Feng escaped, the entire police department knew about it. No one believed it was true. The room where Chi Feng was held was enough to restrain Chi Feng for a lifetime, but he got out of trouble. No one knew that Chi Feng could become stronger at any time. The protective film that could have restrained him would become vulnerable after Chi Feng raised his strength to a new level. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 356 AFO vs OFA. Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. The next night, Kanagawa Prefecture, Kano District. There are old buildings all around, and some of them are abandoned buildings. It seems that no one has taken care of them for many years. At this moment, in the middle of these old buildings is an empty ground, on which a man in a suit stands in the air. He wears a black mask, which fits the face completely, without the gaps between eyes, nose and mouth, like a completely dense mask. This man is the AFO, the ultimate leader of the Villain Alliance, the first powerhouse of the gods. All Might was standing on the opposite side of him at the moment. He couldn't fly. He could only stand on the ground and watch the AFO standing in the sky solemnly. In addition, all the members of the Villain Alliance are standing behind AFO, and behind All Might are professional heroes. Best Jeanist, Akishute, Gangster Killer Whale, Endeavor, Kamui Woods, Mount Lady, etc. At this moment, almost all screens in the city are rebroadcasting events in the Kano district. This is a top event. Compared with Chi Feng's escape from Tartaro's prison, it is more concerned, because this is a duel between professional heroes and Villain Alliance, a fateful battle. Midoriya Izuku and Ida Tenya Bakugo Katsuki and the other three people hid in a corner to watch the battle. The police had already destroyed the headquarters of the Villain Alliance, but AFO suddenly took action, as if to save his student Shigaraki Tamura, with the current picture. It's a bit slow. It's more than 5 kilometers from the bar to here. It took more than 30 seconds after I sent Nomu. Your strength has weakened a lot. All Might. AFO looked at All Might underneath, sports. In the sacrifice event, in order to deal with the alien creature, All Might is equivalent to the overdraft power, and it must have not recovered even now. You are? How come wearing this kind of mask that is used in the factory? Isn't it reluctant? All Might said with a serious face. Now he knows his own physical condition best, and it seems that he can only fight to the death today. I won't make the same mistake as 6 years ago. 4. 1. I will crush you, and this time I must send you to prison with the Villain Alliance you manipulated. All Might doubles the legs suddenly exploded in strength, rushing towards the AFO like a human-shaped cannonball. It's really not easy to do so many things. We are both. AFO raised his left hand, and his left hand swelled like an inflated balloon. The red and black energy was messed up, and suddenly a burst of white burst out. With great vigor, he rushed to All Might. All Might was not as good as it was in the past. It was just a casual blow from AFO and blasted him directly. The broken stones on the ground were blown away along with All Might, and even the old buildings fell some. Squeeze out the air, plus, bone springing, plus, instant force times 4, plus, arm strength times 3. This combination is really interesting, plus a little enhancement system. AFO said tremblingly. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. All Might. Midoriya Izuku cried loudly. At this moment, he couldn't care about anything and rushed out, but he was stopped by Endeavor. Don't worry, he won't die at that level, so let's run away first. Hang. AFO turned his head and looked at Shigaraki Tamura, who was standing aside. Bring them together. Because the time factor was changed, Kurogiri was not injured before that. He opened the portal directly. It seems that this time Shigaraki Tamura's teacher wants to take care of the whole situation alone. Come on, Shigaraki Tamura, you still have a lot of room to grow, don't stop thinking. AFO stared into the distance. All Might was rushing towards this side. Don't want to run away. All Might rushed in and collided with AFO with a punch. The air didn't seem to make a burst of noise, which shows how strong the two are. The two fought together, but it was obvious that All Might was tired of coping. He is no longer physically as strong as he was in the past, much worse than the current AFO. All Might, your life will end today, and the Villain Alliance will return to the world in a dark posture. AFO slammed All Might into the air with a fist, and All Might spit out a mouthful of blood in the air, obviously injured. Kurogiri, take Shigaraki Tamura and they go first. A foe's voice sounded, making Kurogiri react quickly. Teacher, won't you go? Shigaraki Tamura took a few steps forward and said unwillingly. I have to stop All Might. Today is his death date. Go away. A foe's tone increased. Teacher. Shigaraki Tamura called. Don't want to go. Gran Torino flew quickly, trying to catch Shigaraki Tamura. AFO stretched his left hand towards Gran Torino, releasing dozens of energy touches. Retired people don't intervene. Damn it. Gran Torino was directly prevented by AFO's blow. As AFO said, his current strength is much worse than when he was young. Kurogiri and Maggie directly launched the quirk and brought all the members of the Villain Alliance into the portal. Shigaraki Tamura opened his hand and grabbed it into the air. Teacher, your body. It's okay, come when I clean up All Might. As soon as AFO's voice fell, Kurogiri took all the members of the Villain Alliance and disappeared without a trace. AFO looked at All Might plainly and said, I just came to save Shigaraki Tamura, but you want to intervene. After all, I have always hated you. Once, you used those fists to defeat my companions one by one, and were killed by people. Praised as a symbol of peace, the scenery we see from our sacrifice must be very beautiful, right? Detroit, smash. All Might rushed forward and collided with the AFO with a punch. The surrounding ground instantly lifted up rocks and airflow. The clothes on his right arm were directly torn to pieces by the impact of AFO, and All Might's mouth once again overflowed with a mouthful of blood and receded straight back. Sure enough, he was dying. I won't let you fight without any worries. Heroes has a lot to protect, AFO said sarcastically. Shut up, you are always playing with others like this, destroying, plundering, taking advantage of the void, and dominating. Those who live in peace, laugh at them unreasonably, I just can't. All Might's eyes lit up blue the bright light, the next moment he raised his hand and grabbed AFO's wrist. Not good, teleport. AFO raised his hand and immediately aroused Quirk, but it was still a step too late. Unforgivable. All Might punched AFO in the face and smashed him directly to the ground. The ground trembled, showing the power of this punch. But the next moment All Might's activity reached its limit, and suddenly a thin figure appeared on the screens across the country, which looked like a skinny. What's the matter? Said the AFO lying on the ground. You seem to be very emotional, All Might. I've heard the same thing before. 1-4, All's previous generation heir, Shimura Nana said to me. AFO seemed to be reminiscing. You really look like her All Might. 1-4, the heir of the previous generation of All. You are not allowed to use your dirty mouth to say the name of the master. All Might punched again. Oh, AFO said with a chuckle. What's the matter, are you out of strength, All Might? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add unrealistic beauty standards that cost us self-confidence. Add chapter 357, Legend of the Dark Knight, Chi Feng appears. Bitcoin Bank, a young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Shut up. All Might raised his hand and wanted to punch again. It's you who should shut up, All Might. A foe's spread hands suddenly burst out with energy, and directly knocked All Might into the air. Fortunately, Gran Torino reacted quickly to catch All Might, otherwise it might happen. Destroy the helicopter that is being followed. This can be described as a nightmare scene. The sacred area was half destroyed in an instant. At present, All Might is fighting the suspected culprit, Villain. It is unbelievable that there is only one person in Villain. Destroying the city and fighting the symbol of peace still has the upper hand. The reporter on the helicopter was shaking and saying, the villain in front of him was so terrible, even All Might would not be an opponent. As All Might slapped, some citizens looked at the screen and said, wow, I was beaten badly. What are the other heroes doing? Villain has been very active recently. It's better to say that heroes has been falling to one side and losing. But, in the end, All Might will find a way to solve it, right? There are discussions all over the country. It seems that the image of professional heroes has been questioned. Even the symbol of peace, All Might, has been labeled as such. Then who else can beat this horrible villain? All Might was coughing with one hand covering his mouth, and when he took it away, there was blood on the palm of his hand. I'm a little troubled. Shigaraki Tamura diligently made the trust of the heroes of the people collapse a little bit. Is it really okay for me to start the decisive blow? But, All Might, just like you hate me, I hate it too you, I killed your master, but you also took away what I had accumulated, so I hope you can die as ugly and tragically as possible. The more AFO talked, the more excited, the more angry, the more he raised his right hand to All Might, and the messy energy began to gather. Can you avoid it? I want to take away the things you have been guarding so far. All Might suddenly found that there was another injured female citizen struggling behind him, and he absolutely couldn't let it go. However, at this moment AFO's shock attack has arrived. All Might can only grit his teeth and step forward, using the last bit of strength left in his body. After this blow, he will completely become an ordinary person, and will continue there is no power of one, for, all. It is equivalent to saying that all of them have been overdrawn, and the remaining decades of power in this body can be used all at once. Boom. The power of the two began to collide, and the terrifying wave instantly overturned the surrounding ground. The densely packed abandoned buildings around them had already become ruins at this moment, just like the ruins of the end of the world. All Might flew backwards, his breath had become extremely weak, and his last bit of strength was exhausted. Is it really over? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. If there were no sports festival events that year, he could at least use his power again, but now it doesn't work anymore. He has used up all the remaining power. 4. All will be over here. Next, he can only rely on Midoriya Izuku. Originally, he still had one person who could have high hopes. The student was of exceptional qualifications, and it could be said that he was a genius without a single chance. However, it was a pity that he went astray and embarked on the path of crime. Up. Kneeling down on the ground, All Might spit out a mouthful of blood again, and his body has completely turned into the weakest state. After today, he will lose the title of Symbol of Peace, and he will become an ordinary person from then on. Maybe he will die here after today. But AFO has not been sanctioned. If he falls by himself, then who else can defeat AFO? All Might, your time has passed. I paid special attention to your body as early as the sports festival. At that time, I found that your body was already going downhill. AFO walked towards All Might slowly while walking. Said, I admit that the alien creature is very powerful. If I don't have to use all my strength in the face, I will be helpless, so your power began to be overdrawn at that time. Puff. All Might spit out blood and couldn't stand up with one hand on the ground. What's the matter? How could All Might become like this? This is All Might. Who is this skinny and bone-like person? Isn't it All Might? It's over, everything is over. The evil forces have defeated All Might, what shall we do? Yes, all the symbols of peace have fallen. Who else can we rely on? The outside world talked about it one after another, and everyone couldn't believe this scene. All Might was defeated, and it turned out to be like this. With thin cheeks and sunken eyes, he is really a shabby top heroes. Don't be shy, this is your true form. This is the real you, All Might. AFO opened his hands and said mockingly. Almost. It's time to end your long-cherished wish for so many years, and it's time to draw an end. AFO's left hand began to gather strength, and it hit All Might with an impact. At this moment a blaze swept across, offsetting the impact of the AFO. Endeavor stepped on the ruined board and shouted. What's the matter with you? What are you like, All Might? It deserves to be a man who can climb to number 2, even my attack has been offset. AFO said with appreciation, but didn't care. What's the matter with your bleak back now? Don't you understand it? Your back is a target that many people need to follow, not to see you in this mess. Endeavor cried out heartbreakingly. His eyes were full of bloodshot eyes. Endeavor. All Might sighed, and now it's useless to say anything. His energy has been completely used up, and he is no longer an opponent of AFO at all. If you are just here to cheer, just stay in the audience, the guy's in the way. AFO waved his right hand, and the terrifying attack was directed at Endeavor and other professional heroes in an instant. All for one. At this moment, the distant skies suddenly sounded a burst of shouts, and azure blue that pierced the sky came quickly. Even the camera could not track this speed, but there was a sound resounding above the empty sky. Are you? AFO frowned without eyebrows. Nighttail, Chi Feng? Chi Feng, like a sharp sword, rushed towards the AFO. The Thor's stick in his hand rolled up a piece of thunder and swept it down. Rising stars, dare to be arrogant in front of me. AFO instantly transferred their attack on Endeavor to Chi Feng. The next moment a terrifying force swept through and collided with the thunder mons thrown by Chi Feng with the Thor's stick. Boom. There was an explosion around, and the air around it seemed to be broken up. Chi Feng, why are you here? All Might raised his head with difficulty, and asked Chi Feng, who was hovering in the sky with thunder and lightning. Isn't this kid the one at the sports festival? Kamui Woods saw Chi Feng recognize it, but the next moment he cried out in shock. You are the legend of the Dark Knight that had a battle with me on the riverside. You? Endeavor looked at Chi Feng suspiciously. It is said that Chi Feng was imprisoned in Tartaro's prison half a month ago. He will not be able to come out in his life. Why did he suddenly appear here today? Akishoot and the gangster killer Whale are also dumbfounded. How did this guy come out? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add chapter 358 Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Not many people knew that Chi Feng escaped from prison. At that time, it happened to be when the police station cooperated with the professional heroes to encircle and suppress the villain alliance. It has continued to the present, so Chi Feng's escape from prison has not yet fermented. In other words, the people in Tartaro's prison didn't dare to report it now. Even if it was reported, it was only known to the upper level, but it did not spread to the ears of other professional heroes. Chi Feng's figure appeared instantly on screens across the island and across the country. At this moment, Chi Feng was wearing a black windbreaker, without any obstructions on his face, just his own face. Holding an azure blue stick as if it were a substance in his hand, it was prestigious in all directions. This is Dark Knight Heroes, Dark Knight Legend. Bah. What kind of heroes is he? Are you still alive before? You didn't know that he killed hundreds of people in Dai's anger? You don't understand, Dark Knight Legend is his name, his real name is Chi Feng, and the people he killed were all heinous bad guys. In that case, can his strength be so strong that he can replace All Might to defeat the bald man? Someone questioned. It's hard to say that Underworld is a rising star after all, far behind the old professional heroes like Endeavor and Best Jeanist, so you know. Haha, as far as I know, the strength of Underworld Legend is no longer weaker than All Might. I hope he can win. Beat that bald man. As soon as Chi Feng appeared, many people recognized him. Although Chi Feng's real photos have not appeared several times, everyone has seen the sports festival and knows that the champion of the sports festival is Chi Feng, although they don't understand. Why does a school student become an underground heroes, but obviously everyone is not concerned about this, but whether he can beat the bald man. Midoriya Izuku and Bakugo also saw Chi Feng standing in the air, and hope suddenly ignited in their already somewhat desperate hearts. They don't know how strong Chi Feng is, but Chi Feng can stand here now, which means that even Tartaro's prison can't trap him, so it's easy to guess. Yayorozu Momo looked at Chi Feng excitedly on the screen. Tears flashed in his eyes. He thought he would never see each other for a lifetime, but it was so surprising. At the same time, Pingyuan Shangda, Sakata Jinsang, Matsuzaki and Muto are all very excited in front of the TV. Chi Feng is happiest to get out of trouble. It is Bai Shui and Lan Qi, Xiao Beichao, Shen Quan, and the 7 sages of Shibuya underground heroes, who are all concerned about Chi Feng at this moment. Qi Wang also stood alone in front of the TV, looking at Chi Feng floating in the sky in the picture. His clothes Kakuzu was in no wind. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Barbarians, Kurosawa Yilong, Victory, and other people who can only be in the Imperial League, are all paying attention to this battle at this moment. Not only that, even the core members of the foreign Iron and Steel alliances, such as Yindi, Chief Fu, and Introducer, are all watching the emergence of Chi Feng. Captain Marvel, Master Ji Yi and Domon who escaped from the Super League are also watching the live broadcast. There are also Function, China Imperial League, and Decent Alliance, all of which are concerned. Wanted criminals all over the world, criminals, are also watching this battle. It can be said that it has attracted worldwide attention. The appearance of the image of Chi Feng has been completely imprinted in the hearts of the world. Whether it is evil or good, people remember Chi Feng. From today, no one no longer knows Chi Feng, the legend of the night. Chi Feng will rise in the world and has been on the stage that everyone looks up to. It's a rising star. A foe's face became a little dignified. He was able to test Chi Feng's strength with that blow. Sure enough, as he thought, this teenager has grown to a certain level. Uncle O, remember that I called you like this? Chi Feng turned to look at All Might on the ground. I remember. All Might nodded and said, but Chi Feng, why did you step into evil? Chi Feng smiled slightly. I did not step into the evil team, I am still me. I was the one who joined UA High School on my own strength at the time. Perhaps my appearance has changed some factors, but some things are affected by me, and I should also take action and end it. Chi Feng said with a sharp look. Nothing would happen to the sports festival. It may be that I changed some factors that caused the alien creature Lars to descend on the earth. Therefore, All Might desperately prevented it. At that time, All Might had already begun to overdraw its power. Compared with his current ability, even Endeavor is beyond the reach. What Chi Feng can be sure of is that he can easily kill Endeavor now. To be honest, I saw a genius like you for the first time in this world. You have grown to this point in a short period of time. I originally wanted to find you personally, now it seems that you are out of Thor. Talos prison, I can just take over your ability. AFO laughed, this time he really laughed, so now All Might can't beat AFO. Chi Feng also gives his credit to him. He believes this was caused by himself. AFO, do you think I will come to you if I am not sure? Although Chi Feng said so, he knew that even if he was not sure that he could win AFO, he had to come. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. This feeling is like Chi Feng's first enrollment, but Chi Feng now has more calmness and courage, much stronger than those of his peers. Raiden Quirk is the best in element Quirk. Air Quirk is a rare assassination skill. Killing is invisible. The combination of these two is the strongest Quirk in the world. Can you stack your attacks? Do you think I won't? Chi Feng raised the Thor stick and shouted. 1000 thunder plus air compression plus vacuum cutting plus air condensation plus thunder power. That is, he can feel Chi Feng's body now, as surging as the vast universe. Don't be arrogant, All Might is your final fate. AFO can't wait, raising his hand, compressed air, shockwave, spring force, traction, and release directly to Chi Feng. Of course, Endeavor himself wouldn't believe it. How could he be killed by a rising star if he was a top-notch hero with no and two dignity? Let everyone in the world see my true strength today. Chi Feng was not afraid of AFO's attack, laughed boldly, and his eyes became firmer than ever before. So you can miss anything, but you can't miss today's battle. Yes, it is the strongest quirk. It is equivalent to carrying the title of All Might and the symbol of peace, ascending to the top. If there are two Xeon abilities except AFO and OFA in this world, then Chi Feng's dual quirk is the strongest quirk when these two abilities are excluded. All Might wanted to say something more, but he found that even though he hadn't seen Chi Feng for a while, his eyes were still extremely clear, out of the mud and not stained. This battle is very important. He must win. Only by winning the dark forces will he know that there is Chi Feng. No matter in the world or those dark corners, his brilliance will shine on all places in the world. Advertise here chapter 359. Battle at the peak. Advertise here. The ability of the two quirks is superimposed. It is not the first time that Chi Feng has done this, but in fact, he can really do this. The person he has to face must be an AFO. The strength of this bald man is definitely the top power in the first god realm. The terrifying attacks of the two collided together in an instant, and the AFO was directly rushed back for a certain distance by the impact, and then looked at Chi Feng in shock and said, "Your strength has reached the dual god realm?" Chi Feng was also knocked back some distance, and said proudly, "Yes, and just like you, I stand in the position of the first divine realm." Impossible. AFO shouted loudly. It is absolutely impossible for you to reach this kind of field in such a short period of time, and you have no strength at all, very solid. He would never believe this fact. From a person who has just met the quirk, it is not easy to get to him. It takes a lot of time and energy, and sometimes even if it takes time and energy, it may not produce good results. He is the successor of All for One. This ability can be said to be a natural leader. Although he can plunder other people's quirks and transform them into his own quirks, it can also be superimposed forever because of his strength. The same is true for All Might's OFA. The power passed down from generation to generation will grow endlessly. When the strength is strongest, it even surpasses the dual god realm and reaches the realm that is simply impossible. As long as this continues and passed on from generation to generation, OFA's ability will be the most powerful quirk in the world. Like his AFO, but it's not easy to become that powerful. Although they have robbed others of their quirks, the achievements of others can't be transferred to one's own body, so they can only continue to strengthen and exercise their own gains. Quirk, in order to reach that state. His body is not as good as it was before, so he needs a successor. This successor is Shigaraki Tamura. Before his AFO ability is fully developed, his ability needs to be retained by himself, waiting for Shigaraki Tamura to grow, and then he can be given. But what is Chi Feng like? He didn't react to this short-term rise. He thought that there would be no problem if he let it go for a while, and then he waited for the time to deprive the double quirk of the quirk. What happened? The result is that this guy has not only grown rapidly, but has also been in the same position as him. The opponent is only a teenager, and he is even at the same age as he is not even at the age of 20. If there is no secret in this person, no one believes it. Maybe the secret in this guy is the biggest secret in the whole world. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. You are not mistaken, I do have the same strength as you. Chi Feng sneered. Moreover, my strength is even stronger than you now. Chi Feng is not talking big words. When Thor arrives at LV10, he is equivalent to standing at the most terminal of the god-level domain, the first god-level position. And he also has the LV9 level quirk of air manipulation, plus the 9-layer cultivation base, which can be said to be 2 grades stronger than the ability of AFO. Even if this comparison is not possible, Chi Feng has many more methods and life-saving capabilities than AFO. After Thor's second coming arrived at LV10, it was no longer in the same state as before. Chi Feng can even generate thousands of thunder and lightning in the entire sky with the cooperation of air manipulation, and these lightning can even destroy a city. In some respects, it is more terrifying than the Jinden stage powerhouse. This is the power of Quirk when it reaches the final step. It is terrifying. I must plunder your Quirk and fulfill my long-cherished wish that I haven't fulfilled for so many years. AFO finally began to show strength. When Chi Feng added most of the current abilities, not only the face of AFO changed, but the face of other professional heroes also changed. At the same time, all over the island country, Chi Feng's friends watched the scene nervously, and the battle inspired by this touch was about to begin. Bone springing, plus instant force times 4, plus arm strength enhancement times 4, plus proliferation, plus hypertrophy, plus rivets, plus walking in the air, plus spear bones, plus extreme waves, plus strike force, plus maintain form. A foe's arm is completely non-human at this moment, and the power contained in it can be clearly perceived by all people present, and the crisis can be felt just by looking at that arm. Thunder gods return to full excitation, plus air control full excitation, plus thunder shock, plus thunder and lightning shock, plus Lei Ying, plus, Thunder Blasting, plus, Thousand Birds, plus, Thunder Dragon Shock, plus, Wan Lei Annihilation, plus, Thunder of Gods Hidden, plus, Thunder of Extinction, plus, Air Compression, plus, Air Vacuum Squeeze, plus, Air Evaporation, plus, Temperature Sudden Rise, plus, Vacuum Slash, plus, Suffocation Grip plus Vacuum Smash plus Windblade plus Elemental Force Superposition close black lens bracket. Come on, Chi Feng, Midoriya Izuku called out anxiously while looking at the screen. Xiao Feng, we must win. Inoue Ying was sitting in the surveillance room tearfully. Behind her, there are many policemen watching the screen nervously. They also hope that Chi Feng can win. In the blink of an eye, the people and professional heroes in the surrounding area were completely withdrawn. They could only stand in the distance and look at Chi Feng's side, unable to get close. In that case, let me see who is stronger, Rising Star. AFO suddenly burst out of unprecedented power, and layers of energy on that terrifying thick arm began to converge, and finally reached a 0 level. Click and hit Chi Feng with a punch. Gran Torino immediately picked up the injured All Might, and then flew towards the distance, flying as far as possible, because no one knew the extent of the blow from these two men. The people in front of the TV began to be confused. What is going on with these two people? Do they have so many abilities? The shock wave like the previous one cannot cause actual damage to you. In order to quickly defeat you and rob you of your abilities, I will use the strongest and most suitable quirk combination that I can use now to beat you to death, AFO said excitedly. Especially Chi Feng, who has added about 20 abilities up and down, is he trying to destroy the world? Everyone is evacuated. Endeavor has already reflected that this kind of battle is completely a fight of the gods, and even the top professional heroes can't get involved at all. Mr. Chi Feng, I believe you can do it. I always think you are a different person. I believe you. Ida Tenya bared his white teeth to the screen and said firmly. Since you are so worthy of me, then I can only use my most powerful ability. Don't be scared to cry. Chi Feng laughed, then instantly put away the smile on his face. Shoto Todoroki and Bakugo Katsuki did not speak, but their clenched hands betrayed their thoughts. Chi Feng feels a little familiar with these words. These words should have been said by AFO to All Might, but now they're the other way around. He has become AFO's strongest villain. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at Hot MTL Novel for free. Top 10 Sexiest Indian Girls. Who's your favorite? Add chapter 360 Who wins? Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Chi Feng lifted the Thor's stick, condensing the previously gathered strength on the Thor's stick at this moment. A kind of pride, an unprecedented aura seems to be set on him. At this moment, people all over the country, and even all over the world, are watching him. Chi Feng wanted to be a hero in his previous life. That kind of lofty ambition is different from now. Now it is more of a kind of responsibility, a kind of duty, to put everyone's safety and danger into one body, and inherit the wish of All Might. At this moment, Chi Feng is radiant. Raytheon's stick burst out with dazzling white light, and all kinds of power were added to it, and there was no shape and water chestnut. The screens all over the country were already snow white, and nothing could be seen again. However, at the next moment, this piece of whiteness suddenly disappeared and returned to the Thor's stick in Chi Feng's hand. Chi Feng lifted the Thor's stick and struck it towards the AFO with a full blow. This blow is not only for Uncle O, but also for everyone, including readers. Chi Feng smashed down suddenly, and the infinite power and brilliance came to one point in an instant, and a monopoly was created. Gully's pale stick light. All the surrounding air was evacuated under this blow, forming a vacuum zone, and the AFO's attack was also coming in an instant. Boom. There was a violent explosion, and the glass windows on the helicopter shattered directly. Even the camera was shattered. The screen that everyone looked at was suddenly black, and then nothing was seen. Some professional heroes such as All Might can only see a burst of energy wrapped in the light spreading around, and the blazing white light makes people unable to open their eyes. Even though they were hiding at such a distance, it was a little difficult to breathe at the moment, as if someone hit their chest with a heavy blow, making it difficult to breathe. After dozens of seconds, All Might looked into the distance with difficulty and asked, "How is it?" "I don't know, Tonori, how are you?" Gran Torino looked at All Might with concern. Endeavor stood motionless beside All Might, with an unbelievable look in his eyes. The smoke cleared, Chi Feng's figure still floating in the air, but his clothes were almost torn at the moment. His arm and some other parts of his body suffered serious injuries, and there was a trace of blood hanging on the corner of his mouth. While AFO was lying on the ground at this time, there was no clothing on his body, but the necessary place was covered by some gravel. There were bloodline all over his body, which showed that he had been severely injured. Puff. AFO opened his mouth and spit out a large patch of black blood, coughing violently. "Change the camera and continue shooting," the reporter on the helicopter yelled anxiously. "There is currently a spare camera that can be broadcast live again." Chi Feng slowly fell from the air, landing 2 meters away from the AFO, looking at him without emotion. Who's winning? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. What's going on? What about the picture? Damn, what the hell is going on here? I am anxious to death. In the streets and alleys, nothing can be seen on the pitch-black screen. The earth-shattering blow just now obviously affected something, causing the camera to be unable to shoot, or it was damaged. A few seconds later, when the people were a little anxious, the live broadcast suddenly appeared again, but the camera flickered and couldn't see anything clearly. How's it going? Is the camera ready? At this moment, a man's voice came on the screen. Everyone listened carefully and found that it was the reporter's voice just now, which seemed to be having a problem with the camera. No problem, you can continue the live broadcast, another person said. Then quickly record it. The reporter raised his hand and took the camera over and took the video himself. Following the reporter's actions, the camera was carried on his shoulders, and the picture immediately appeared. In the screen, the empty ruins have been hid and sunken at the moment, and a man with torn clothes stands in the sunken area, with black hair on one end without wind. It's Chi Feng! Someone exclaimed excitedly. It's really him, he won, Chi Feng won. Midoriya Izuku also had tears in their eyes. In this extremely critical situation, Chi Feng defeated the leader of the villain alliance, AFO, by his own efforts. This is like a myth that is unbelievable. Inoue Sakura even said with tears, we won, Zhao Feng won. Oh. Nishio Yu was too excited to split his table in half with a watermelon sword, which was so happy. Bai Mu Ling immediately drew Chi Feng, and then came a bear hug, the legend of the night, you were great. Wu Wanlin laughed and drank the red wine in his hand. Kurosawa's excited punch exploded the refrigerator in his home, and fruit drinks spilled all over the floor. Wang Qi touched his big bald head and smiled. Seno stood with the doctor at this moment and witnessed Chi Feng's victory together. The doctor also felt very relieved. Although the incident did not happen in China, this incident affects the hearts of the people of the world. At this moment, Wanyan looked at Chi Feng with a gloomy face in the famous place at the foot of Huashan Mountain. Although she wanted to kill Chi Feng, she knew that now is not the time. At this moment, Chi Feng is the heroes of the people. If Chi Feng were to be killed at this time, it would be an enemy of the world. And the hidden door will be exposed, which is not allowed in the hidden door world. Anyway, according to Hua Nianyun's understanding, among the many hidden gates in China, her Rin Yu sect is not very strong, and she is much stronger than her Rin Yu sect, so it is not yet the moment when the time is ripe. Cheers rang out quickly, and Lisha and their villagers in the Indian village were all watching the moment of Chi Feng's success, and everyone was also very excited and happy. This news is a thankful thing for good people and Chi Feng's friends, but it is undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for the evil forces and the dark forces. Yins looked at Chi Feng on the screen with a blue face. He really feels that Chi Feng's strength is a bit tricky now. Even a terrifying opponent like AFO has been defeated. Even though Yins is strong, he cannot be arrogant. Said that he is much stronger than AFO. Yindi glanced at the Chief Fu beside his eyes and did not speak. The face of Chief Fu was not better than that of the leader. He was deeply aware that Chi Feng's strength was beyond his control. If the opponent seeks revenge, whether their Iron Alliance can stop him. Live. Don't worry, as long as Chi Feng dares to come, I will take it. The quoter said with a deep gaze. After this battle, Chi Feng's famous general resounded throughout the world. At the same time, the Super League, the Dark Hall, the Dai Forces, and some dark forces in the dark have become more and more afraid of Chi Feng. They even want to avoid Chi Feng's sight, or everyone joins together to eradicate Chi Feng, and will never suffer from future troubles. Otherwise, they will be eliminated by Chi Feng one by one, and there will be no place for them in the end. Aizawa Shota revealed a crazy look in his eyes and said, this is the strongest student I have ever taken. I won't accept any rebuttal. I also think so, UA High School has never had such a strong student. At this time, even the principal said. Tongxing Million and the other two giants are sitting on the sofa and watching this scene at the moment, feeling unclear in their hearts, as if their hard work over the years has been in vain. A freshman in the first grade, oh no, now. It's the second grade. It was such a rising star who surpassed him so much in a short period of time. Million, who originally wanted to fight with Chi Feng, gave up this idea at this moment. Now he has only one idea, which is to become stronger. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at Hot MTL Novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add what is the most common plastic surgery in Korea? Add chapter 361 advertise here. AFO, is there anything else you want to say? Chi Feng came to him and asked in a flat tone. AFO lay motionless in a pool of blood, his body was wounded everywhere, and he couldn't see if he was dead. At this moment, AFO shot a few energy tentacles with his fingers, and wanted to take Chi Feng's quirk as his own. Unfortunately, Chi Feng had already seen through this guy's tricks, and instantly turned into air and escaped. When Chi Feng appeared, he had already stepped on AFO's face. Don't use your cleverness to measure me, as you said, the era of all might has passed, and your era has also passed. AFO has been spitting blood out in anger. It seems that the last time he raised his hand just now has used up his last strength, and he can't resist at this moment. There was no more horror in his heart, he was beaten like this, and the loss was too thorough. A rising star defeated his AFO. The double quirk is actually not terrible. The horrible thing is that the double quirk is so strong. A person who can cultivate a single quirk to the extreme is a god-level powerhouse. At that time, he was already dominating the quartet. This Chi Feng, double quirk has almost cultivated to the extreme. Even if he is AFO, he can't beat the opponent. There are many accidents in this world. AFO thought that Chi Feng was under his control. He wanted to wait for his strength to return to the peak and went to look for him, but he was shattered before his strength peaked. He had to come out to protect Shigaraki, Tamura's safety, fighting professional heroes. How did you become so strong in such a short period of time? AFO couldn't swallow this breath. He still couldn't understand why Chi Feng became a peerless strong in such a short period of time. Chi Feng smiled at the AFO. I won't tell you this kind of thing, so you can stay in Tartaro's prison for a lifetime with regret. Chi Feng, please give up resistance and go back with us. Akishode and the gangster Orcus and others walked over and looked at Chi Feng and said unkindly. Chi Feng took off the foot that was on AFO's face, turned his head and looked at Akishode and the gangster Orca with cold eyes, and said, You two are really interesting. I thought I was fooled by me once, and I would be fooled by me twice. Are you fooled? The gangster killer whale stepped forward and directly attacked Chi Feng with his head ultrasound. Circles of ripples appeared, rushing towards Chi Feng. Chi Feng waved his left hand, and invisible energy instantly crushed the past, and then said, This kind of attack is of no use to me, it is my turn. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. The big air hand directly pinched the gangster killer whale's neck and lifted him up, who was laughing at me in prison before. What do you want to do? The gang killer whale cried out in horror. He didn't expect the opponent to be so strong and his attack would be ineffective. It was so easy to pinch him up. No wonder this strength could defeat AFO. Everyone thought that Chi Feng is now the weakest time. After all, he has just played against AFO, and there should be quirk weakness and side effects, but now it seems that there is no sign at all. Akishud instantly turned into red lines and rushed towards Chi Feng. Chi Feng didn't make any movement at all. A protective film of lightning appeared all over his body, intercepting all Akishud's attacks, and then was also caught in the air. The big hand squeezed the neck. These two top 10 professional heroes were pinched in the air by Chi Feng, and at the moment the camera is facing Chi Feng. All the things that happened before have been seen by the public. It is indeed the professional heroes who have done a little too much. Chi Feng is now the heroes of the people and defeated the leader of the villain alliance for them. Under such circumstances, the professional heroes are actually disadvantageous to Chi Feng, which really makes them angry. However, they also felt that Chi Feng had done a little too much, and he publicly slapped professional heroes. How could this make them face? After destroying the camera, Chi Feng looked at the two and said, I won't kill you, but I still need to teach you a lesson. Why is it dark? The screens across the country have also returned to normal, and the screens have changed back to normal TV stations and some news. At the same time, news of the war in the Kano district is also being broadcast. Is the live broadcast interrupted again? What's the matter? When the voice fell, Chi Feng smashed the two on the ground, and the two of them spit out a mouthful of blood, and their breath weakened. After a long time, Matsuchi rushed here with the police officers, watching the AFO lying on the ground and ordering the police officers to take him away, take him to Tartaro's prison for treatment, and then directly imprison him in the prison on the 11th floor. Are you crazy? Gran Torino shouted at this moment. Do you know how heavy the title of #1 in the world is? Do you know how many powerhouses like AFO in this world? If you carry this title, you will live in a world fighting against evil and dark forces for the rest of your life. Ha 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 ha. Kai Fengyang laughed loudly and suddenly rose from the ground and turned into a thunder rainbow and disappeared into the sky. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. At the end of the Kamiya War, AFO was arrested, All Might's strength returned to zero and exited the world stage. The Legend of the Night, Chi Feng, rose and successfully stood on the world stage. The dark forces were frightened, and at the same time undercurrents surged. Boom! With a crisp sound, the reporter on the helicopter suddenly found that the camera lens he was carrying had exploded, and the picture was instantly cut off. All professional heroes watched Chi Feng leave blankly. No one tried to stop him, and no one dared to stop him. Chi Feng, you. All Might seemed to want to say something, but was interrupted by Chi Feng directly. Uncle O, take care and leave. Chi Feng. All Might was helped by Gran Torino, and asked some unknown reason. He thought Chi Feng was going to kill the gangster Orcus and Akishode. Uncle O, I'm just teaching these two people, Chi Feng said flatly, and then changed the conversation. From today on, I will be the world's strongest person. I will inherit your will and walk in the name of justice. In the world, the villain I am facing, as long as I feel that I should kill, I will definitely kill. I will not abide by any laws, and heroes cannot kill people. In my eyes, those who deserve to be killed must be killed. Now Zhao Sukachi will not make a second mistake. The first time Chi Feng was imprisoned on the 10th floor, he thought it was inexhaustible. Who knew that Chi Feng got out of trouble? This kind of thing happened once, not a second time. Citizens began to make noise, but there were no spare cameras on the helicopter, which meant that the live broadcast completely ended here. I have already realized it. It will not be long before no one can shake my position. No matter who comes to die, I will kill him. Chi Feng laughed, then looked at the silent All Might and said, "Oh. Uncle, when I really stand firmly on the top of the world, I will return to Hua High School." At that time, when I said 1, no one said 2, you would naturally not be embarrassed. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add the hidden messages in Whale's family photos. Add chapter 362. Advertise here as a symbol of peace. All Might has been ruled by power for too many years. Dark forces are rampant, but they are still afraid of All Might. Now All Might has no strength, just like ordinary people, the dark forces will no longer have any scruples. However, this time the Great Wild War not only lost a top professional heroes, but also lost a top powerhouse from the dark forces. AFO, OFA. These two top powerhouses withdrew from the world stage, but another rising star suddenly emerged, as if the tide rose and the boat was born in the same night. The underworld and the white roads all over the world, and even some citizens know that there is a figure like Chi Feng. Although Chi Feng's record is amazing, it is not that the evil and dark forces are frightened, because they believe that the strength of AFO is no longer 1 in 10, and the same is true for All Might, so Chi Feng, a rising star, can climb up. In the eyes of many people, although Chi Feng won, but the true strength has yet to be verified, because no one has played against him, no one feels that he is not Chi Feng's opponent. For example, the lead, such as Captain Marvel, Gui Mage, Domon, and many god-level powerhouses, they all want to try Chi Feng's Jinlang. This world is theirs, not Chi Feng, a rising star. At this moment, Chi Feng turned into Lei Hong and fell directly into Tartaro's prison. All the prison guards in the main monitoring room were calm at this moment because they were criticized by their superiors because Chi Feng escaped. Although Chi Feng's escape was not directly related to them, the room couldn't be stopped. Chi Feng still couldn't stop it. It wasn't that the prison guards with dead wages could stop them. So they are just very unhappy, very angry, and even want to pee in Chi Feng's food. Are all of them depressed? At this moment, a voice sounded, and all the prison guards looked back and saw Chi Feng wearing a tattered dress standing at the door looking at them. "Ah, are you back?" One of the prison guards seemed to stand up excitedly. "Come on, voluntarily surrendering is a good thing. Maybe the superior can reduce your sentence. I will give you a better room." The other prison guards looked at this guard like an idiot. They all escaped and would come back again if they were stupid. This is definitely to find fault, you fool. "Not bad, I think what you said makes sense." Chi Feng smiled and walked forward a few steps. The prison guard immediately greeted him happily. This is a great time to get promoted and make a fortune. As long as this prisoner is put in prison, his future is absolutely boundless. Snapped. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Puff. Chi Feng slapped the grinning prison guard on the face, and the prison guard slapped him 720 degrees with the slap of Chi Feng, and all his teeth were knocked out. Ah. The other prison guards backed away in fright. It was too cruel. He slapped all the teeth away. He was so young that he would use the dentures for a lifetime. It felt miserable to think about it. "You kid, I know when you look at your brows and squirrels. I definitely have your hands and feet in my meal." Chi Feng looked at the prison guard on the ground and snorted coldly. Didn't you? You didn't eat?" The prison guard stammered, mainly speaking without a tooth, like a blower. Chi Feng didn't pay attention to the prison guard anymore, but looked at everyone present and asked, "Who else is doing tricks in my meal?" As soon as this remark came out, the scene suddenly became quieter, and no one dared to say that he had done something. Chi Feng kicked the guard on the ground and asked, "Tell me who else has done anything to my meal. If you tell the truth, I can consider not to blow your eyes." "Ah, I said. The prison guard heard that Chi Feng was about to blow his eyes. He was so frightened that he tapped several prison guards with his hands and told Chi Feng who did it. "Even if the teeth are beaten, you can change dentures, but if your eyes are blown, there is no eyeballs to change." The prison guards who were named were all trembling with anger, and at the same time they were very scared. "Murata now, you coward, you betrayed us," one of the guards shouted, pointing at the guard who fell on the ground. Chi Feng raised his hand and slapped it. The scolding prison guard also had his teeth polished, and his face was instantly swollen like a pig's head. But now Chi Feng is looking for the old friends, to relive the past, and he has to get some benefits back. Maybe he didn't need that sect master to take action, and there was also a Jindanshi named Junior Brother Fang, and he would probably also be tempted to go out to find his whereabouts. However, Chi Feng found out that there is a gap in time and space in Yamanaka, Tianmen, China, which seems to lead to other small worlds, but no one knows where the gap in time and space leads, because no one has ever entered. The small world did not arrive as scheduled and did not open after a month. This small world did not know why it closed the channel to the outside world, so professional heroes could not enter it either. Chi Feng didn't like Tartaro's prison and left directly after doing all these things. And this news is not only known to the professional heroes, but also to the underground heroes and many other forces. In this regard, Chi Feng will not let go of the opportunity. Although his strength is already the strongest among the superhumans, he is still a rubbish in the eyes of the cultivator. That's right, this disguise technique is one of the inheritance left by his master. You can practice disguise technique without building a foundation, changing the shape of your face so that others can't recognize you. Chi Feng has acquired a brand new identity, and at the moment he travels to the airport by car, and his destination is the United States. Today, Chi Feng left the hotel after having breakfast in a 5-star hotel. At this time, his face was a bit vicissitudes of life, and his beard was not shaved. This is what Chi Feng has just learned about disguise. In the end, these prison guards were like grandsons after being taught by Chi Feng, and their eyes were full of fear. This news was brought to Chi Feng by Chao Beichao. It is said that the gap in the space is still unstable and it takes time to enter. The other prison guards who were named were also focused by Chi Feng. After all this was done, Chi Feng asked again to see if there were any fish slipping through the net. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. He appeared in the Shenyang district and experienced a great battle. These pictures and live broadcasts were all launched in the island country at the same time, and even foreign countries are watching here. So Chi Feng felt that the Huashan Hidden Gate sect master already knew about this. Therefore, Chi Feng wants to leave the island country. There are too many friends here. It is not a good thing to be implicated in his affairs, so he can come back when his strength is truly not even afraid of hidden doors. However, according to Chao Beichao, Tianmen Mountain has a hidden gate, but the hidden gate has rules and cannot interfere with the affairs of the secular world, so they should not enter the gap in that space. This small world is the small world that Pesha originally lived in, and it has completely disappeared. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add chapter 363 almost a problem on the plain Bitcoin bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Now that he has changed his status, Chi Feng must keep a low profile and do the same things as ordinary people. Although he can fly to the US by himself, why does he bother to enjoy himself by plane? Except for the immortal cultivator who can know his disguise, the super-ordinary person will not know that he is disguised. And even the immortal cultivator may not necessarily recognize Chi Feng, because Chi Feng can restrain his aura and make the immortal cultivator unable to detect it. After the plane arrived at the airport, Chi Feng queued up for registration like everyone else, and then consciously sat in the first-class cabin. After all, he has money and of course he needs to spend it and enjoy it. Hello sir, you are welcome to take the XXX flight. I am very happy to serve you. May I ask you something? Not long after Chi Feng sat down, a stewardess walked over. She was wearing a professional attire. The flesh-colored silk stockings wrapped her legs very tightly, which looked delicate and smooth. Chi Feng just glanced at the flight attendant's legs and then retracted his gaze, and then casually said, "Just some red wine and some steak by the way." "Okay, please wait a moment." The flight attendant smiled slightly. Just now Chi Feng looked at his thigh and she knew it clearly. It was no surprise that the guests peeped at her figure, and Chi Feng also looked a little handsome. Has the charm of a mature man. Chi Feng's location is the luxurious first-class cabin, which is more advanced than the first-class cabin. That is to say, there is only one person in this first-class cabin. There is a small table besides the seats in the 10 square meters of space. It is a toilet, specially prepared for Chi Feng alone. Of course, the price of this luxury first-class cabin is also very expensive, so people who can afford to fly in this kind of airplane are rich people. After the plane took off, Chi Feng took out his mobile phone to call Inoue Ying and his classmates, and then explained that he would not be able to return in a short time, and he would return after he settled some things. At that time, no one could separate their family and affection, friendship. "Sir, this is the steak and wine you need." The stewardess walked back again, and the steak in her hand was already cooked, because Chi Feng didn't require the steak to be mature enough, so he gave it to Chi Feng in accordance with the International Standard 7 mature steak. The red wine is a whole bottle. Chi Feng saw the stewardess standing aside after putting down her things, and asked a little puzzled, "Is there anything else?" When the stewardess heard this, her face turned red, and she asked Chi Feng in a low voice, "Excuse me, sir, do you need me to help you relieve your stress and relax?" After hearing this, Chi Feng was taken aback for a moment, and then immediately understood. Does FCK still have this kind of service? Chi Feng tried his best not to think about it, but in fact he can only think about it. "Ahem, what do you do?" Chi Feng asked tentatively. If it was really such a service, he would resolutely not do it. Just kidding, how could his first time be given to a stewardess? There are not so many good women around him. How could it have anything to do with a stewardess who often serves guests? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. At this time, the stewardess took the initiative to walk behind Chi Feng and began to squeeze Chi Feng's shoulders. The strength was not bad. Chi Feng suddenly relaxed. It turned out to be this service. I almost thought about it too much. Since it was such a service, Chi Feng asked the stewardess to massage himself. He started to eat steak and then poured a glass of red wine out to drink alone. After the steak was eaten and drank, Chi Feng leaned on his seat and rested. The stewardess was still massaging. Before he knew it, Chi Feng felt very comfortable and fell asleep. His nerves were all tense these days and he didn't sleep at all. After a good night's sleep, especially after he escaped from prison, he faced a top powerhouse like AFO. Although he won in the end, he also suffered some injuries. Now that he can be so relaxed, he naturally wants to sleep comfortably. However, after not knowing how long, Chi Feng realized that his body suddenly reacted, and he opened his eyes. At this time, where's the stewardess giving him a massage? This is clearly in special care. Frightened Chi Feng immediately pushed the stewardess away. Fortunately, nothing happened and his pants were still there. The only thing was that he reacted. The stewardess was pushed directly to the ground by Chi Feng, looking at Chi Feng with some puzzlement. Excuse me, I just need to massage my shoulders, the others are not needed. Chi Feng stretched out his hand to pull the stewardess up, and said apologetically. Stop, how do you think you are very face to face? At this moment, a voice sounded. Chi Feng turned his head and saw Venom's pale face standing in front of him. The current Venom is not elemental, so he is still a normal European. Okay. The staff immediately opened up an artificial channel for Horta. Chi Feng walked in quickly, and the staff reacted after Chi Feng entered the Super League. Even Horta needs identity verification, which is a pity. He thought that when he found Chi Feng had disappeared. After entering the Super League, Chi Feng found a toilet and changed back to the appearance of the thin Chinese man again. Chi Feng was a little surprised. The toilets here are all very advanced, and even the toilets are the kind that can clean their buttocks. The roof in the Super League that was smashed by Wanfu palm and the protective film have been repaired at this moment. There are still many people here. It seems that Wanfu has never been here before. Okay, thank you. Chi Feng Kaido. A few hours later, the plane arrived. After getting off the plane, Chi Feng found an unmanned corner and turned it into air directly, and hurried to the Super League. Chi Feng came to the entrance of the Super League and found that to enter the Super League, pupils and face scans are required to get in. The image of Chi Feng is obviously not recorded, so it is impossible to get in. At this time, Chi Feng turned into Thor's appearance again, and walked to the check-in office. Chi Feng took a breath and started to stabilize the kingming of the Lingtai. It was the most difficult part for him to cultivate to this state. If something went wrong in this part, his life would be completely finished. You are Thor, Horta. A staff member's expression changed. Why did Horta come back? Didn't it mean that he broke with the Super League? Only then did the stewardess relax, and bowed to Chi Feng and said, then please rest, I will go down. Chi Feng was walking around in the flow of people coming and going. There were many eyes looking at him because of the appearance of Chi Feng. Everyone didn't know who he was. They had never seen him before. How did this guy get in? Within dozens of minutes, Chi Feng appeared on the periphery of the Super League, and at this moment, he changed his appearance, a small Chinese. Don't talk nonsense and let me in, Chi Feng said as he looked at the staff member coldly. Cut, what to pretend, but he was a gentleman who obviously wanted it, and he reacted to pretend. The stewardess despised and walked away quickly, her face still flushed. The foundation must be built quickly, Chi Feng muttered to himself. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chi Feng feels that he has to make some good toilets later, so that his home is full of modern technology. Advertise here chapter 364. Too Arrogant Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. I'm coming to the Super League to ask for something. I hope you can give it to me. Chi Feng spread his hands and said, since the venom has been delivered to the door by himself, of course he must quickly accomplish his goal. After hearing this, Venom was a little unclear, so he didn't know what the other party was talking about. Ask for something. We don't take in beggars. Venom, it seems that your Super League has been doing pretty well recently. I think you are fatter? Chi Feng suddenly said something like this. Do you know me? Venom replied in surprise, and then he reacted, looking at Chi Feng a little unkindly and said, who are you anyway? Suddenly, Chi Feng used electromagnetic force to damage all the monitoring facilities here, so the camera was useless, and no one could know that he was here, including all the mobile phones and mobile terminals of the people here, were all destroyed. Lousy is Chi Feng. Chi Feng laughed, raised his hand and directly pinched Venom's neck. The Venom reacted quickly and quickly became elemental, but he still couldn't escape Chi Feng's devil's grasp and was picked up. Venom is only the strength of the second emperor. After elementalization, it may have entered the category of the first emperor, but in front of a top god level powerhouse like Chi Feng, there is no chance to resist. The current Venom looked at Chi Feng in horror. He found that he couldn't use any of his power and seemed to be restricted by the opponent. The Super League staff and unrelated personnel immediately quit. Lousy does things and doesn't like being too noisy. Chi Feng's voice resounded throughout the Super League, and those working here immediately ran away. The captain of the United States and the Black Widow Iron Man drove them out. When they came out, they saw Chi Feng holding Venom by the neck. The Venom seemed to be unable to resist. Put down the Venom. Iron Man aimed all the weapons on his suit at Chi Feng, and the Black Widow also pulled out the two special guns on her waist and pointed it at Chi Feng. At this time, the Ghost Rider and Magneto also rushed over, and even superheroes, like Ant-Man, which had never appeared before, also appeared. There are also Hawkeye, Wolverine, Laser Eye, Silver Shadowman, Card King, Black Panther, Steel Lux, Dr. Octopus, Scarlet Witch, Thunderbolt, Red Tank, Horseface Thor, Devil Girl, Iceman, Vision. Looking at these dozens of people surrounding him, Chi Feng was surprised. Today is the first time I have seen the Super League. It is a behemoth. There are so many fake superheroes. No wonder they're full of confidence. No matter who you are, you will end up arrogantly in the Super League, so quickly put the venom down. Ma Mi and Lei Shen took a step forward and said proudly. Leaving a Thor, Horda, you come out as Thor with a horse face. Oh yes, you can barely be considered Thor, but you are not qualified enough to say that in front of me. Chi Feng directly waved a pure thunder with another hand. Came to the front of Thor of Ma Mian in a flash. The horse-faced Thor had no time to react, but the Silver Shadow Man directly absorbed Chi Feng's attack with the silver skateboard under his feet, and then he was very shocked. The energy was so huge. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Are you Chi Feng? The American captain saw Chi Feng throw a thunder and lightning and immediately understood that this man is Chi Feng undoubtedly. Only Chi Feng's strength can pick up the venom in this way, but the venom cannot resist. Following the words of the American captain, the rest of the people looked at Chi Feng in shock. This thin man is Chi Feng, but he is not alone. It seems that the captain is more insightful. Yes, I am Chi Feng. Chi Feng laughed and restored his appearance. Seeing that Chi Feng suddenly changed back from a thin person, everyone's complexion changed. How did this happen? The witch is shocked. She can transform into a variety of people, but how Chi Feng did it? Rumors that Chi Feng is a double quirk has been confirmed, but it is not clear that it will deform and change appearance. Everyone, put down your weapons. The American captain didn't plan to do it after he knew this was Chi Feng. If he fights here, even with his current strength, even if they have so many people, Chi Feng can be hit hard, but so what? With Chi Feng's current strength, if he is hit hard, then the Super League will definitely kill a lot of people. This is simply not cost effective. The Super League has lost a lot of people these days. Since Thor Horda left the Super League has begun to go downhill. Then Thanos was killed, Hoko was killed, and Spider-Man was killed. Losing so many Admiral all at once, the heart of the Super League is painful. The American captain knows that their leader has not come back so far, so they can't come hard with Chi Feng. Otherwise the Super League will be over when the leader comes back. Although the American captain is only the second Emperor's pinnacle strength, everyone present listened to his instructions, put down their weapons one after another, and cancelled the attacking posture. Seeing these people put down their weapons obediently, Chi Feng said, "It's still a little sincere, Captain. You lead the way, go to the conference room and let's talk about things." The venom was put down by Chi Feng. At this moment, the venom looked fierce and vicious. At this time, it was like a little mouse, standing cautiously on the spot. The American captain glanced at the crowd, and then took a breath and walked away. Chi Feng followed the American captain 7 turns and 8 turns into an empty room, where there is only a very long conference table. There are more than a dozen stools. Chi Feng consciously walked to the first place and sat down. Then he looked at the people who came in and said, "Let's find a seat by yourself, you are welcome." Those superheroes all sat down with a dark face looking for a seat. How long would their Super League be treated like this? The other party is just one person, so many of them from the Super League come out to accompany them, and they don't dare to do it. The American captain is also helpless. At this moment, he is sitting on the side of Chi Feng. If the 3 top god-level powerhouses, Jiu Yi, Captain Marvel, and Domam come back, they can fight Chi Feng. But it's impossible now. None of the 3 people came back and couldn't be contacted. I don't know where they went. Although there are god-level powerhouses among the people here, they are only in the second god realm, which is far behind Chi Feng. Seeing everyone sitting down, Chi Feng beckoned to the Venom and said, "Go and pour me a cup of coffee and some sugar." Venom stood up immediately, got up and went to help Chi Feng make coffee.
The others are daring not to speak. This guy is too arrogant in their territory.
Too much bullying. At this moment, the red tank stood up and punched Chi Feng. "Oh," Chi Feng uttered, raising his hand and hitting out with a wind blade. The wind blade was wrapped in a vacuum cutter, and he directly chopped off one of the red tank's hands. The red tank instantly covered his broken arm and yelled in pain. The American captain gritted his teeth and shouted, "Take him down." Without saying a word, Phantom directly got the red tank out with his arm, and then the place was quiet again.
I hope you will be honest. If something like this happens again, I will kill people directly, instead of cutting off an arm. Chi Feng tapped on the conference table with his right hand, and every tap seemed to be a boring hammer in everyone's hearts.
Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add what is the most common plastic surgery in Korea? Add chapter 365 Helpless Super League advertise here. Don't worry, what happened just now will not happen again, the American captain assured Chi Feng, and then glanced around everyone in the room. Is it? No one speaks, it means tacit approval. At this time, Venom came in with coffee and placed it in front of Chi Feng. Your coffee. Go. Chi Feng waved his hand at random, then picked up the coffee in front of the table and smelled it. The air manipulation immediately entered the coffee and analyzed it to see if it was poisoned. However, Venom did not have the courage. Chi Feng took a sip of coffee and looked at everyone and said, Your Super League has a big hatred with me. This hatred has been forged since the last time I entered the small world, but I thought that even when this matter was over, you would still send someone to kill me, and you issued an order to kill me, no matter when and where, you would kill me directly. So, how do you say we calculate this account? Chi Feng's tone increased when he said the last word. The captain of the United States broke out in a cold sweat. He was wearing a mask and a special uniform. Now he feels very hot and very difficult. He had already guessed that Chi Feng would come back to seek revenge. That's why he called so many superheroes, come back. Originally, these superheroes all have their own jurisdictions. Not all of them work in the Super League headquarters, but they all have their own things to do. These days, they have just convened almost, and the plan to deal with Chi Feng has not been formally summarized yet. As a result, Chi Feng is here. It's not that they are slow, but Chi Feng is too fast. You said, how do we solve this? The American captain swallowed. If Chi Feng wants to kill a few people to vent his anger, he will never agree. If you don't compromise, you can only fight. Since you have spoken, then I will negotiate with you roughly. Chi Feng took a sip of coffee and then said, I need compensation. Huh, the American captain breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Chi Feng just wants compensation. If he wants to kill someone, he really can't agree to it. There is no problem with compensation. They have cultivated so many superheroes in the Super League. Sufficient resources, almost those reagents that strengthen the Quirk will be used by the members of the Alliance. Then the reagents are allocated according to the merits of these Alliance members. Whoever has the greatest merit will get more reagents, and everyone is fair. So when Chi Feng said this, the American captain was relieved. However, the other members are obviously a little upset. Chi Feng is a kind of robbery, and they can only recognize it. Just say what compensation you need, as long as our Super League takes it out, we will give it, the American captain said. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. After hearing this, Chi Feng was happy. It seems that the Super League is very emboldened and can slaughter a fortune. At least after the slaughter, he is truly invincible? I want 100 tubes of Type E reagent, Chi Feng said briefly and horribly. What? The Scarlet Witch cried out in surprise, 100 tubes of Type E reagent, is this guy crazy? She is one of the strongest among the people present. She is a god-level powerhouse. At this moment, she can't let Chi Feng open his mouth at will. You must know that losing 100 tubes of E-type reagent is also a big deal for the Super League. Loss. Why, don't you agree? Chi Feng asked, looking at the Scarlet Witch sitting on his right. This girl's length is somewhat similar to the one in the movie, and it looks pretty good, but it's a fake. Everyone here is a fake. It can be said that Americans like to engage in some formalism, heroism, and imitate these non-existent things. If it weren't for the extraordinary people in this world, everyone here might just be a member of cosplay. Our Super League gives up to 50 tubes of E-type reagents. If you want more, it's useless. Only the first few tubes have great effects on the human body. It must be that you can't take this reagent in your level. The new Type R reagent has not been successfully studied. Scarlet Witch said truthfully, she felt that Chi Feng was a little abnormal. She had heard that when Chi Feng's strength was not very strong, he needed reagents from many forces in the small world. As a result, Chi Feng's strength is still so strong now that he needs reagents. Chi Feng sneered. What I want these reagents to do has nothing to do with you. You just need to give me 100 tubes of E-type reagents. I don't want one more tube, and I won't do it with one tube less. The Scarlet Witch was angry when she heard that, but she didn't dare to say anything for a while. If she wanted to fight Chi Feng, she would definitely not be an opponent. But if they were asked to hand over 100 tubes of E-type reagents to the Super League, they would not be willing. At this time, the American captain said, yes, our Super League can give you 100 tubes of E-type reagent, but the condition is that from today onwards, we will not infringe on the river, and we will not infringe on each other, and we will wipe out our grievances. Captain. Can't do this. The Scarlet Witch looked at the captain of the US immediately. Needless to say, the reason why I am the captain of the United States is to take the overall situation into consideration. I hope that from today onwards, no one will offend Senior Chi Feng. The captain of the United States said the last words in a helpless tone. Their Super League is a giant in the United States, and a giant in the world, with so many imperial-level powerhouses and several god-level powerhouses. If these people are dispatched and even some small countries can be destroyed directly, medium-sized countries will be frightened, except for China, island countries, Russia, the United Nations and other large countries, the rest of the country must give them enough face. Now it is because of a person who directly cedes land and pay compensation. This kind of thing has never happened before, but it has happened today. That's right, their Super League can't afford to fight, and they don't dare to fight. If they go to war with Chi Feng, the situation will be endless, not to mention whether they can kill Chi Feng. Even Chi Feng's age is scary. If a few more years, will the United States be wiped out by Chi Feng alone? Although this kind of thinking is absurd, it is not impossible. So the Super League is scared, and so is the American captain. What you said really surprised me. I thought you were all hard bones, and the result was nothing but this. After Chi Feng said this, he glanced around everyone in the room, and slowly spoke. I agree with the proposal of the American captain. After today, I will have no grievances with you in the Super League, and the two will be cleared from now on. Matilda Edith, go and help Senior Chi Feng bring 100 tubes of Type E reagent, the American captain said to the Black Widow, who is called Matilda Edith here. The Black Widow didn't have any words, and the American captain asked him to get her, then got up and left. After Chi Feng finished his last sip of coffee, Venom got up and came to Chi Feng and asked carefully, Senior Chi Feng, do you want coffee? No, although it tastes good, it's not good to drink too much of this stuff. Chi Feng waved his hand to signal the Venom to go down. Venom went down cautiously like a child, and it didn't take long for the Black Widow to walk in with 2 suitcases and put it on Chi Feng's desk. Each of the 2 metal suitcases contained 50 tubes of Type E reagent, which made up exactly 100 tubes in total. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 366. Another unexpected gain Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Chi Feng checked these E-type reagents with his spiritual sense and found that there was nothing wrong with them, then put them away and put them in the space warehouse. I think your Super League should have that kind of weapon room, or a place for storing things. Chi Feng didn't wait for a few people from the US captain to speak. First, he said something. After hearing this, everyone understood that Chi Feng was not satisfied at all, he wanted more. At this time, the face of the American captain was unsightly. He looked at him with a low tone. Chi Feng asked, Senior Chi Feng, what do you mean? I just want to take a look, why can't it? Chi Feng's energy was all over his body, and the rest of the people got up and backed up when their faces changed. Does this Chi Feng want to cross the river and tear down the bridge? After taking 100 tubes of E-type reagent, he changed his mind and wanted to do something on their Super League. Seeing Chi Feng's posture, although the American captain was angry and did not dare to do any more radical behavior, he had to say, we have a treasure room here. If Chi Feng Sr. is interested, you can go in and take a look, but you are the most. Only one thing can be taken. No problem at all. I will leave immediately after visiting. After all, I am a busy person. Chi Feng laughed. The American captain led the way. After verifying his identity, Chi Feng came to a very tight room. Oh no, it should be said that it was in the warehouse. There are rows of shelves here, and the things on them are basically filled with a special kind of glass. Chi Feng's spiritual consciousness swept out in an instant to get a panoramic view of these things. Many of the things on these shelves are unknown ores, as well as metals and some gems and the like. There are even cold weapons from ancient times, and Chi Feng is not interested in them at all. Just when Chi Feng felt that he didn't have what he wanted, he suddenly felt a wave. This wave was a wave of spiritual power. Even though it was only a moment, Chi Feng still felt it. The problem lies in the things that are contained in the metal boxes. Chi Feng's divine consciousness penetrates the dozens of metal boxes. When it penetrates to the 8th box, his mind is suddenly shocked. There was a milky white stone lying quietly in this mailbox, probably slightly larger than a baby's fist. The milky white was very pure and there was no dirt. This milky white stone may not be known to others, but Chi Feng knows best. It's Lingxi. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. That's right, it is the spirit stone, this kind of almost extinct thing. As early as the ancient times when there were monks on the earth, there should be only this kind of spirit stone on the earth nowadays. But Chi Feng knew that even the hidden gate could not have such a large piece of spiritual stone. At most, they only had broken pieces of the spiritual stone with the size of the thumb. This was inevitable. Therefore, the cultivation resources of the hidden gate are also very tight. Chi Feng killed Chi Feng during the foundation building period before, so the suzerain Wan Nianyan will pursue it so hard, not only because Chi Feng is the nephew of junior brother Feng. The bigger factor is because Chi Feng was a disciple of the foundation building period. Cultivating a disciple in the foundation building period is very difficult, and death will have a great impact and loss on the sect. Regardless of the fact that the hidden gate is not in dispute with the world, in fact, there will be wars between the hidden gate and the hidden gate, but the people in the common world don't know it. Chi Feng walked to the metal box a little excited, but it didn't show it on his face. This metal box is also wrapped in a layer of special glass. Under the glass is written 3 words, Air Stone. Chi Feng thought to himself that it seems that people in the Super League do not know that this is a spirit stone, but is called an air stone. The American captain frowned when he stood behind Chi Feng. The gas stone was placed in the metal box and could not see anything. Why did Chi Feng stand here to observe? What is this gas stone? Chi Feng asked pretendingly. The American captain replied immediately. This air stone will make people feel cool and breath when held in hand, but it does not have much effect. To be precise, it has no effect for us. Okay, then I want this gas stone, Chi Feng said directly, pointing to the metal box. Huh? The American captain thought he had heard it wrong, and immediately asked, are you sure you want this useless stone? There are so many things here, and almost everyone is more valuable than this air stone. Chi Feng sneered in his heart, everything is worth more than this spiritual stone? What a big joke. Even if the 100 tubes of E-type reagents add up, they are not as valuable as a corner of the spirit stone, not to mention the rubbish placed here. The American captain persuaded him so, obviously knowing that Lingxi is useless for their superhumans, but maybe there are other effects, so I didn't want to give it to him. No, I want this gas stone. Give it to me. Chi Feng did not show the attitude that is very urgently needed, which makes the American captain incomprehensible. In fact, this air stone is really useless for super ordinary people, but the leader of the Super League said that this stone is not simple. The role of the stone was later understood. Now that Chi Feng wants this gas stone, the American captain feels a little embarrassed, but he promised before that Chi Feng said that he could take one thing away. As a result, Chi Feng was unbiased and just chose this useless and useful thing. Well, since Senior Chi Feng must want this gas stone, then give it to you. The captain of the United States reluctantly opened the device to protect the gas stone, then took out the metal box from it and handed it to Chi Feng. Chi Feng took the metal box over, and after scanning the divine sense, there was no problem, and then sent it directly to the spatial warehouse. This trip really didn't come in vain. Not only did I get 100 tubes of Type E reagent, but also the spirit stone of surprise. He may have entered the foundation building period because of this spiritual stone, all of which are possible. Seeing Chi Feng put away the air stone so quickly, the American captain always felt something was wrong, because from his feeling, Chi Feng shouldn't care about this kind of thing, but there is a feeling that Chi Feng cares very much. But this air stone is really useless. Otherwise, why would you put it here? It would have been used by the strongest of the Super League, or the head would have used it himself. In this case, I don't need to stay longer. I hope your Super League will act in a low-key manner in the future, and don't provoke anyone who shouldn't be provoked. Chi Feng was sent out by the captain of the United States and others. After saying these words, Chi Feng went straight to the sky. From there, it turned into a dazzling Lei Hong and disappeared into the sky. Damn its stuff. The American captain yelled angrily after seeing Chi Feng leave. Go to his uncle's dog. Dare to pinch my neck and tell me to pour coffee. I really think I'm invincible in the world. Venom Gas opened his mouth wide and shouted at the sky where Chi Feng disappeared. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 367 World Underground Heroes Association Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. 1 hour after Chi Feng left the Super League, the three figures quickly approached the Super League. The American captain walked out immediately after learning the news. When he came out with the others, he saw Captain Marvel, Gui Mage and Domom had arrived. What are you doing here? Captain Marvel frowned and asked. The American captain immediately stepped forward and said, Senior, Chi Feng has been to the Super League just now. What did you say? Dark Knight legend Chi Feng is here again. Captain Marvel's expression changed, and the energy in his body seemed to be uncontrollable. The Gui Mage next to him put his hand on Captain Marvel's shoulder and said slowly, Don't get excited, listen to what the captain says first. The American captain said without hesitation, Chi Feng did come, but he didn't do anything to our Super League people, but he took our 100 tubes of E-type reagents and air stones. Captain Marvel heard that Chi Feng didn't kill the Super League people, and his anger finally calmed down a bit, but Chi Feng took so many benefits of the Super League, which is not good. The reason why the three of them disappeared these days and did not come back is not because they are hiding from the mysterious powerhouse, but because they went to a meeting with the World Underground Heroes Association, specifically for Chi Feng, a rising star. The rise of Chi Feng is so fast and unexpected, so many people think that Chi Feng has a secret, which is still a very big secret. Therefore, the World Underground Heroes Association wants to convene the strong underground heroes in the world to take down Chi Feng together, and then everyone will share the secrets of Chi Feng together. The World Underground Heroes Association is on Mount Olympus, which is said to be the land of the gods. Compared with the Underground Heroes Association, the Island Empire, the US Empire, the China Empire, and so on, they are much worse than those belonging to one country. In the Light World Underground Heroes Association, there are no less than 10 strong people in the first god realm. These dozens of people are named after the Greek gods, such as Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, etc., like gods. Title. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. They belong to absolute strength in the world. None of these Chi Feng knows, because the World Underground Heroes Association generally does not show up, and the real action is a one-shot kill, or is there a mission issued, or a meeting. Such things are absolutely responsive. This kid dares to take away the things from our Super League, then this girl will let him spit out more things to make up. A glimmer of light flashed in the eyes of Captain Marvel. The other superheroes are a little bored after hearing this. The Captain Marvel is a good woman and looks good, but only his age is unknown. From the appearance, Captain Marvel is only 20 years old, but no one would think that Captain Marvel is only 20 years old. It is said that Captain Marvel has been like this a long time ago, and it has not changed since then, but in fact the true age at least 50 or 60 years old, maybe even older. The American captain heard the words of Captain Marvel and immediately said, Senior, we have negotiated terms with Chi Feng. He took 100 tubes of E-type reagent and gas stone, and all our grievances have been offset. From then on, we and Chi Feng has no grievances anymore. Confused. Captain Marvel looked at the captain of the United States and cursed. Who let you do it yourself? Chi Feng killed Sentry and Deadpool, and brought that kind of horrible woman to us. Thanos and Hawkeye. And Shao the spiders are all killed, and now we are here to take advantage of us. Do you think this matter can be stopped? The captain of the United States changed his face after hearing this and immediately said, Senior, as the captain of the Super League, I am directly obedient to orders and leaders. My captain's responsibilities are different from yours. In a way, my rights are greater than you, so the decision I made is also the decision of the Super League. I don't want the Super League to have any ties with a strong like Chi Feng anymore. Okay, very good, you are the second emperor who dared to talk to me like this. Captain Marvel said with a sneer. Although your position is higher than mine, everyone is under your command, but before the three of us just attended the meeting of the World Underground Heroes Association, Zeus clearly gave instructions for everyone to work together to catch Chi Feng. As a result, you are now telling me that the Super League and Chi Feng have reconciled? What? The American captain sank in his heart and immediately asked. Is the World Underground Heroes Association going to take action against Chi Feng? That's right, Captain Marvel said with a clear look. Although Chi Feng is very strong, he is only the strongest of the first gods. There are so many first gods in this world. If you gather some to deal with Chi Feng, enough to leave his bones dead. So, what are you still holding on? The words of Captain Marvel cheered all the heroes of the Super League. Those superheroes that Chi Feng looked down upon, and those superheroes who had been bullied seemed to have been redeemed at this moment. As long as the people of the World Underground Heroes Association take action, Chi Feng will undoubtedly die. Indeed, as Captain Marvel said, everyone from the World Underground Heroes Association has taken action. What is he still insisting on? However, the American captain always feels that Chi Feng is not so simple, and always feels that it is a bit inappropriate to do so. Okay, I know your scruples, and I also understand your feelings as the captain of the United States, but sometimes we need to adapt. He has offended too many people, and more people covet his secrets. Who doesn't want to change Chang? Since he is so anxious to find death, so high profile, let him be torn apart by this world. Captain America was silent. Captain Marvel said that it is not unreasonable. Maybe Chi Feng is really going to die, so what else does he have to worry about? At the moment, Chi Feng is in a 5-star hotel in New York, USA. The room is extremely luxurious and is a presidential suite. Chi Feng stays in a good hotel. This hotel costs 4,000 meters per day, which is equivalent to more than 20,000 Chinese yuan. It can be said to be very luxurious. And Chi Feng directly paid for 3 days. At the moment, Chi Feng is enjoying lunch, fruit platter, fruit salad, sushi salmon, Chinese cuisine, everything. And whether you eat breakfast, lunch or dinner here, you don't need a penny, it's all included in the room rate, so basically the food and wine in the hotel are free to drink as long as they have it. After eating lunch, Chi Feng stretched his waist and went to the window to look down. Niu Yu's bustling streets were full of traffic. The luxurious sports cars shuttled back and forth on the street, looking like matchboxes, moving in general. Suddenly, Chi Feng had an idea. He had a house, but he didn't have a car of his own. He had to build a car that fits his identity. It seems that you have to check on the internet for any good cars. When the air control is upgraded to LV10, you can buy one. Others drive on the ground. Lousy flies in the sky, commonly known as a speeding car. Chi Feng muttered to himself. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add chapter 368 Heaven Breaking Bow. Advertise here. Chi Feng checked the car brands and models on the internet. Chi Feng paid no attention to the lower class cars. He took a brief look and finally set the target as Silver Tuatara. This car looks very fast. The chassis is very low, it looks full of sense of technology. But the price is more expensive, more than 1.5 million meters, but this is nothing to Chi Feng. After Chi Feng made up his mind to buy this car, he started to upgrade the Quirk. Pulling the curtains up, Chi Feng sat on the bed cross-legged and directly took out the 100 tubes of E-type reagents. Looking at these E-type reagents, Chi Feng suddenly felt that his system was actually tasteless. Basically, he could not play a role in normal times and could only rely on it. Improve Quirk by yourself. In addition to the initial lottery which brought some surprises to Chi Feng, in the end, the saving points seemed to become insignificant. After the battle with AFO ended, Chi Feng just made a rough count. Many people on the island have contributed to his rescue points. In total, there should be 4 to 5 million rescue points. Chi Feng has no plans to save these points. Use. In fact, Chi Feng mainly uses rescue points to get Quirk promotion pill, but now the E-type reagent can replace Quirk promotion pill, so this system seems to be useless. However, Chi Feng has never developed this system, so I don't know what other functions are there. Put these things aside, now Chi Feng wants to raise the air control to full level. 1 tube of E-type reagent was drunk by Chi Feng, and those nutrients were directly absorbed by Chi Feng and converted into empirical values. With 100 tubes of E-type reagent, Chi Feng was getting closer and closer to LV10. Chi Feng took out the W-type reagent and began to drink it unscrupulously. When the experience value was saturated, Chi Feng seemed to have a mysterious energy pulling it all over, and then a white circle mark appeared on the back of his left hand, which should be the same as the lightning mark on the right hand. A meaning. At this moment, a transparent longbow suddenly appeared. After Chi Feng held the bow, it instantly turned into a crystal-like texture. There was an invisible zon on the bow that could only be seen by Chi Feng. Hey, Chi Feng held the bow with his right hand and pulled Gongxuan with his left hand. At this moment, the air around him was instantly empty, and then it turned into a transparent long arrow condensed on Gongxuan. The surrounding TVs, beds, coffee tables, refrigerators, and computers suddenly burst open. Chi Feng's expression changed. The bow was so magical and powerful. He had to shoot it after he pulled the bow. Otherwise, the arrow would get stronger and stronger, more and more violent. Call out. At this moment, Chi Feng had to let go of his boson, and the transparent long arrow shot out, instantly piercing the solid glass windows of the hotel and flying away. Chi Feng stepped forward to look at it quickly, and saw that the invisible arrow that only he could see passed through several buildings at this moment, and finally burst open on a bell tower, and the entire roof was blown to pieces. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chi Feng's figure flashed, and he flew directly into the air, taking all the rubble that was easy to hit people, and then he left, even though the hotel did not return. The movement was so loud that the police immediately noticed the movement in this bustling area. The citizens thought it was a terrorist attack. Chi Feng ran away quickly and headed to the outskirts of the mountain forest, but Niu Yu didn't have such a large mountain forest. Chi Feng could only go to farther places. Did you find out what's wrong? A police officer asked while looking at his men. The policeman said immediately, I figured it out. It was a guest on the 40th floor of the Wilton Hotel. The guy seemed to be using a pseudonym, Lavsky. We checked it, and his identity certificate, it's also fake. The origin and location of that person must be found at all costs, the police officer said solemnly. What happened just now caused a lot of panic. From the monitoring, I couldn't see anything, neither a bomb nor a thermal weapon attack, nor the color of the release of the Quirk. Then the roof of the huge bell tower was covered, explode directly. This is a relatively big incident. If you don't make an investigation and give the people a clear explanation, they will get a lot of criticism as a police officer. At this moment, Chi Feng is standing on a hillside, and there are no people in the area for dozens of miles. This place is just right for him to experiment with the newly acquired weapon. This longbow already had a name in Chi Feng's consciousness. It was called Baotian Bow. The name sounds like hockey, which is a match for Thor's stick. Chi Feng, who owns the Thor stick, feels that his strength has been improved to a notch, and now he has the Skybreaker bow, and both the air manipulation and Thor's return have been upgraded to max. It can be said that no matter what god-level powerhouse in this world isn't it his opponent? I'm in the US, don't ask this first, send the specific location to my mobile phone. Remember, it must be specific. Chi Feng raised his hand and took out a metal chair and sat down. At this moment, Chi Feng raised his hand and released an invisible long arrow, which instantly rushed to the sky with Chi Feng's mind control, and all the surrounding air was taken away by it, forming a white burst of air in the sky. Okay, I'll send it to you. Shinos hung up and began to transmit data to Chi Feng. As time went by, the surrounding area of Chi Feng was already ill-formed after an hour. At this moment, it was like being hit by a cruise missile, and the range of several hundred meters was already sunken. Huh? Chi Feng suddenly discovered that his mind can control the direction of the entire invisible arrow, which means that as long as he shoots this arrow, he can use his mind to control it to go anywhere. As long as it has energy, it can fly infinitely, go down. It can be said that if the hidden people are rampant in the world, there will be nothing superhuman. Chi Feng sat in a chair and waited for nearly half an hour before Shinos sent him the exact location of the Iron and Steel Alliance. Chi Feng looked at the location on the phone and remembered it, and then directly condensed and opened the Bo Gong Zon. The only thing that annoys Chi Feng is that there are hidden cultivators in this world, who are different powerhouses who stand above humans and superhumans. Chi Feng lifted his left hand, and the broken skybow condensed in an instant. After pulling Gong Zon away, the surrounding air suddenly gathered here, and all the surrounding trees began to sway, like a tornado, gathering towards the center. Chi Feng let go of Gong Zon. The invisible arrow was like a wild horse that had escaped trouble, directly rubbing the ground and rushing out. The ground sank instantly, the soil turned up directly, and there was no grass wherever it went. Ha ha ha. Chi Feng suddenly had a bold idea. This arrow is even better than the tracking missile, and it is extremely fast, even faster than his flying speed. Master. Where are you now? Shinos answered the phone in surprise, and had been separated from the master for some time. She somewhat missed the days when she was out with the master. Since I haven't gone to your place yet, I will give you a meeting ceremony first. Chi Feng sneered, and the surrounding air was evacuated again, condensing an invisible long arrow. Sinos. Tell me, where is the headquarters of the Iron and Steel League in the United States? Chi Feng immediately called Sinos. Call out. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. The longer the time, the stronger the power. Chi Feng pulled Gongxuan in this way for a minute, and even the ground began to sink around. This power can actually change the geology. Chi Feng wondered if he pulled Gongxuan for an hour, wouldn't it? can produce the power of an atomic bomb? It was like the air current when a rocket was launched into the atmosphere and broke through the atmosphere. The invisible long arrow flew to the place Chi Feng wanted. The speed was extremely fast, leaving several kilometers of white marks in the air. Top 10 sexiest Indian girls. Who's your favorite? Ad exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Ad chapter 369 Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Alarm! In a certain military base near the Iron and Steel Alliance in the United States, the sirens suddenly remembered. An officer sitting in the most important office stood up instantly, his face solemnly exclaimed. Something has happened. Is there a war going to break out? He had to be surprised that this kind of siren hadn't appeared for a long time, especially in the military bases under his jurisdiction. This kind of sound was basically inaudible. But if it rang out today, something big was definitely going to happen. Daniel didn't want to have problems in the area under his jurisdiction when he was not retiring. That way, he would have done nothing all his life, and he would not be able to benefit his children and grandchildren. A soldier rushed in from the door and said loudly, "Chief, come and take a look." "What happened? Can't you speak?" Daniel said with a gloomy face. "No, I can't tell you this clearly. You have to come and see the chief before you know," the soldier said aggrievedly. Daniel didn't care about anything anymore, so he rushed out. Only when he came to the general control room did he know what had happened. It turned out that it was not a war, but an unknown object was flying here at 30 times the speed of sound. So far, there is no mention of anything on the Earth that is faster than 30 times the speed of sound, so the thing is not on the Earth at all. Things. What is flying is not visible on the monitoring screen, only the white air current and the traces of the white air current several kilometers long can be seen. Have you figured out what is this? Where did it come from? Daniel asked seriously. If the target of this mysterious thing is theirs, then there is really a problem. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not a missile. It emerged from a no-man's land outside Clifton Curran. I don't know who made it. The operator immediately began to analyze the data and make a comprehensive analysis. Clifton Cullen, Daniel said puzzledly, is there anything in that kind of ghost place that can emit 30 times the speed of sound? No one answered Daniel's words, because everyone knew that Clifton Curran had nothing, so this thing became weird. As for whether a supernormal person did it, no one would think about it, because it is impossible for a supernormal person to make something that is 30 times the speed of sound. Can it be intercepted with missiles? Daniel's face gradually became unsightly. The speed of the thing was too fast, and it was already close to his side infinitely at this moment. It's too late for the head, and we can't lock that thing, we can only ask for more blessings. One of the operators put down the mouse and leaned directly on the seat, seeming to be praying or waiting for death. Daniel wanted to say something more, but at this moment the unidentified object passed directly over his sight. The next moment everyone in the surveillance operation room jumped up excitedly, seeming to be the joy of the rest of his life. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. You guys are so happy. Do you know where its goal is? If it threatens the country, you still laugh out. Although Daniel felt that he had escaped, the crisis was not resolved. Didn't Chi Feng know that there are many people watching the direction of its arrow, and at this moment it is infinitely close to the Iron Alliance. Within the Iron and Steel Alliance, Chi Feng's invisible arrow has obviously been detected, but I thought it was not aimed at them. After all, the concealment of the Iron and Steel Alliance in the United States is very high and very low-key. But now they don't think so, because the extremely fast object is coming towards them. What the hell is this? Chief Fu said with an ugly face, and a completely white impulsive airflow on the video screen was flying towards this side rapidly. Yins frowned and said, "It seems that someone is deliberately targeting me at the Iron and Steel League. Also, please take the lead," Yindi asked while standing on the side. "I can't stop this thing either. First send 100 defensive machines to resist this unknown thing, and I will take action later." The Yins finally agreed, and he got up and walked towards the elevator. In an uninhabited area for dozens of miles around, at a position relative to the middle, a huge hole suddenly cracked in the ground, and the elevator lifted up with 100 defensive robots. These machines seemed to have received some instructions, and their eyes turned from red to green, and they were scattered all around, seeming to form a square array. Start the ultimate defense to activate. Layers of green protective film suddenly covered the entire area. This area is the main entrance zone of the Iron and Steel Alliance and must be guarded. When the defensive robot fully executed the command, the attractor also came to the ground. The invisible long arrow instantly hit the green protective film opened by the robot. Boom! With just one impact, more than 30 defensive robots exploded in an instant. The protective film was destroyed like plastic, and the next defensive robots were also destroyed one after another. Yinzi's face changed, and he stepped forward in an instant. The purple stick behind his back fell on the palm of his hand. At this moment, he looked at the invisible arrow rushing towards him and directly shouted, "Vientiane gravity, falling." Boom! The lead suddenly twisted in front of him, the ground collapsed instantly, and the two forces instantly collided together. Chi Feng sat cross-legged on the ground and suddenly stood up. In his mind, he could see that a strong man was blocking his invisible long arrow. That powerful force can actually distort the substance. Chi Feng has always thought that there are machines in the Iron and Steel Alliance, and even the strong should be with the steel frame, or it should be Shinorth. But now he was wrong. The one who prevented him from attacking was an old man who was still blind with one eye. Puff. Yin's was repelled more than a dozen steps, his face instantly became difficult to look. He only now discovered that the power that attacked him was invisible, but it was extremely large, and he was still being beaten by 90% of his strength. Fight vomiting blood. The Yin's didn't want to ignite his body, and directly staggered the position so that the aftermath of that invisible force hit the ground. Boom. With a loud bang, the ground was instantly penetrated. Chi Feng's invisible long arrow rushed into the ground and destroyed hundreds of killing machines in the Iron and Steel Alliance, and even the latest machine models were destroyed. Until the energy consumption of the invisible long arrow is finished, it is completely over. Ah. When Yindi saw the yelling frantically from Chief Fu, he had no choice but to persuade him, and silently turned his head and left. Yin's knelt on one knee, with a purple long stick supporting his body. At this moment, his other eye was emitting a dark purple light, and the body that had been injured suddenly recovered. Is this the power of alien blood? Yin stood up slowly, with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Unrealistic beauty standards that cost us self-confidence. Ad exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Ad chapter 370 advertise here extraterrestrial bloodline power. This is the power that Yinner gained some time ago, but it was not obtained by himself, but given by others. The person who gave this was no one else, but the alien creature Ross. That's right, the alien creature Lars is a very smart creature. He has completely mastered the human language during his time in the human world, and even has a clear understanding of the data and strength of the powerful. It didn't make a move during the Kamiya War, just stood dormant, because it knew that it was not the time yet, and it was not time for it to make a move. So it must have its own subordinates, and the introducer is one of them. When Russ first found the attractor, Russ was not an opponent of the attractor. It was a few months ago that attractor had no interest in Russ at all. But when Russ said that he could make the attractor stronger, the attractor began to be moved. Of course, the attractor was not so easy to believe in Russ. After all, he was not human. There is a saying that it is called that the non-self race must have different hearts. This sentence has a basis. But in the face of power, the inducer is small, so no matter how you can follow the power and gain stronger power, the inducer is willing. There are thousands of powers, but the same result by different routes. Therefore, the inducer finally accepted the power of Ross and obeyed the dispatch of Ross, but it was not domination. Russ gave Yin's the power of the alien bloodline. He could quickly recover his injuries and physical strength, and then strengthen Yinzi's body to perfect it. Sure enough, I didn't lie to me, now I am getting stronger and stronger. There was a hint of excitement and desire in the attractor's eyes, and at the same time he already knew who released that invisible power. The legend of Knight Chi Feng. He must be the only one in this world who can release this kind of power. When returning to the Iron Alliance, Chief Fu began to question the introducer. Why didn't that force be blocked? I was damaged by hundreds of killing machines, as well as newly developed models, which cost me hundreds of millions of meters. Yin's looked at Chief Fu coldly, and his tone was full of murderous intent. Garbage is garbage. You still care about money if you live for a long time. Ha ha ha, personal strength is what our generation pursues. People like you live also occupy resources. From today you don't have to dominate the Iron and Steel League. Chief Fu didn't understand the introduction for a while, and looked at the introduction sluggishly. At this time, the purple long stick behind the lead had been swung out, and the 1 meter range centered on the leader of Fu suddenly began to twist. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Ah, you dared to strike at me. The head leader Fu's complexion also twisted along with the surroundings. His heart was extremely shocked, and the Yins went crazy and wanted to kill himself? Do you think you are still the former chieftain? Initiator said while holding a purple long stick to control his power. If you were still the chief chieftain 10 years ago, you wouldn't end up like this. Although I was not in the heyday of 10 years ago, it is not so easy for you to kill me. Chief Fu fought away. His body suddenly lifted up at this moment, the flesh and blood exploded in vain, and the black metal in his body appeared. Sure enough, you are controlling the will of the machines in the Iron Alliance. The ease on the face of the lead became serious. That's why I am the head of the Iron Alliance, and I am a part of the Iron Alliance. Chief Fu is already a body of steel at the moment, reaching a height of 10 meters. At this moment, Yin stood in front of Chief Fu like a baby. Start the killing program. Close black lens bracket, U.S. Steel Union Headquarters, all killing machines are activated. Open black lens bracket target, introducer close black lens bracket, purpose, completely obliterate the target. Chief Fu controls all the machines in the Iron Alliance headquarters. After activation at this moment, all killing machines, including new machines, are also activated. Since the Yins rebelled and wanted to kill him, then he would do everything together, and he was not afraid of the Yins in his own territory. It's just that Chief Fu is a bit unwilling. The achievements he has managed for decades are now going to be ruined. Fighting here, the battle between two top powerhouses can destroy everything. Now Chi Feng is looking for a place to buy the silver Tuatara sports car. He has to drive the sports car to the Iron and Steel League to settle accounts. It couldn't go on like this anymore. Yins finally got a sigh of relief, lifted the purple long stick in his hand with both hands, and then quickly rotated it. The bullets that hit him were not counted, million was hundreds of thousands, and he could only defend against such a dense attack. Chief Fu is not a fool. He will naturally not let his efforts go to death in vain. After the first wave of attacks, he began to manipulate those robots to remotely attack the inducer. Lumos is the largest underground smuggling city in the United States. There are everything here: smuggled goods, cars, gold, diamonds, drugs, and even women smuggling. Chief Fu didn't give the leader time. His mechanical hands instantly turned into two cannons, and a burst of golden energy was converging in the muzzle, aiming at the leader. The main thing is that he didn't even know that Chief Fu had such a strong strength and could control so many robots to fight for him. Chi Feng directly inquired in the local area. An American man named David Lakin is the leader in smuggling vehicles, so Chi Feng is now looking for this guy to learn about his new car. Chi Feng put away the shattering bow with satisfaction. The people who hit the Iron Alliance just now lost a lot of robots. When he didn't completely destroy the Iron Alliance, he gave them a meeting ceremony. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. In this case, Chief Fu lost 1,000 robots. Dead, Chief Fu was about to split his eyes, and the double muzzles burst out two golden shockwaves instantly, hitting the inducer. Bullets continued to hit the Yinner like a gust of wind and rain, and the Yinner directly hit the purple long stick in his hand to the ground, and the 2 meters around him began to twist, and a bullet could not enter. Today, let me learn about the power of your chief leader. Yins put away his smile, and the purple long stick in his hand swept back directly, and the killing machine that rushed towards him was directly exploded by this stick. Layers of twisted energy spread instantly, and then suddenly extended in all directions. The robots were still shooting frantically, but they exploded directly after being hit by these ripples. Then there are more robots rushing towards him. These robots are like wasps in a steady stream, and the inducer's purple long stick is also quickly swung out, exploding one by one. The introducer also frowned when he saw this, and he was a bit reckless today, and he shouldn't have shot on the territory of Chief Fu. The bullets of those robots seemed to be infinite, and they kept attacking the initiator, which prevented the initiator from freeing his hands to counterattack. He had to carry this wave of firepower before speaking. Chapter 371: Buying the First Sports Car Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. This time is already the time for normal people to have dinner, but David Lakin is different from others. He is having in-depth exchanges with women at this time. That's right, Chi Feng has been waiting downstairs in his company for half an hour, and David Lakin hasn't ended the battle yet. In fact, Chi Feng can kick David Lakin's room directly, and then take him out to talk, but there is no need for it. Chi Feng is a top powerhouse, yes, but you need to follow the rules to do things, at least so far. Such. After Chi Feng waited on the sofa for an hour, David Lakin finally came over in a formal suit. If David Lakin hadn't known that he might be a big client, he might have tossed in the room for half an hour. There were a lot of women, and he could change one every week. Basically, he would get bored in a week. I've been waiting for you for an hour. Chi Feng lazily leaned on the sofa and said, even the coffee brewed in front of him was cold. Speaking of which, the coffee tastes really bad, but the coffee in the Super League tastes better. That one tastes really good. Chi Feng plans to have the opportunity to get some Super League coffee in the future, where it is okay to learn about the channels. I'm sorry, may I ask your last name? David Lakin looked polite, but he didn't care much in his heart. After all, he had to face all kinds of customers every day. This kind of smile and politeness are professional qualities. Just call me Brother Feng. Chi Feng nodded. Brother Feng? David Lakin thought he had misheard. Is this guy here to buy a car? I think he is here to find the difference. Whenever someone meets, he asks the other person to call him his brother, even if he wants to. David Lakin himself is willing. Is there any problem? I'm here to buy the Silb Tuatara sports car. Chi Feng looked at David Lakin faintly and said, this guy has a lot of strawberries on his neck, and it can be seen that I have to suck out a few every day. Not afraid of dying on a woman. It turned out to be a big customer. David Lakin immediately put away his contempt, and immediately smiled after he got up and said, okay, Brother Feng, please come with me. I will take you to see the car. I can tell you that Silb is here. Tuatara comes in any color, you can drive away as long as you pay today. That's naturally good. Chi Feng followed and stood up, and then got into David Lakin's car and went to the spot to see the car. The smuggling team is worthy of being a smuggling team. The smuggled cars are all kept in a relatively secret location. David Lakin took Chi Feng to the outskirts of the factory. Basically, the factory is full of smuggled cars worth more than 100,000 meters. Odd. Of course Chi Feng knew that David Lakin would not take him to see these garbage trucks. Sure enough, David Lakin said, these cars are blind, in order to prevent being seized, but if you want to see Silb Tuatara sports car, Brother Feng, I have to be blindfolded before I can take you to see it. This is the rule. No problem. Chi Feng said lightly. In fact, he already knew where the good car was. Just under his feet, it was an underground parking lot with famous cars lying in it. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Seeing Chi Feng so happy, he agreed. David Laken also took a high look at Chi Feng. Generally, people who come to him to buy a car are either rich or expensive, so being blindfolded is very dangerous. Anyone who plots wrongdoing can be planted. Chi Feng was blindfolded and followed David Laken into the underground garage. Only when he arrived at the location did David Laken order people to take off Chi Feng's hood. All the colors of Silb Tuatara are here. If you like Feng Jie, please pick one, David Laken said with a smile. For big clients like Chi Feng, he naturally has to try his best to please, otherwise, how do the women who eat and live by themselves come from? Isn't it just relying on the support of big customers like Chi Feng? If no one supports his smuggling business and no one comes to him to get the goods, then he still earns ass money, and can he change a woman in a week? Do not make jokes. Chi Feng looked at the 6 silver Tuatara sports cars in front of him and was lost in thought, but when he saw the black silver Tuatara sports cars, he immediately made up his mind. He is a legend of the night, and naturally wants a black car, so this black silver Tuatara is the most suitable for him. Laken, I want this black one, at what price? Chi Feng pointed at the black silver Tuatara and said. David Laken said without hesitation. Black is more value-preserving, so the price may be more expensive, but we can make a deal when we meet for the first time, and we are friends, so I will give you 820,000 at the price of a friend. What do you think of the price of rice yuan? Chi Feng glanced at David Laken. This guy is very good at talking and doing business. Silver Tuatara's black car has a guaranteed value, but he doesn't need to maintain value at all, just a transportation tool, but David Laken the price is still okay. Normally, the official purchase of this Silb Tuatara requires more than 1.5 million meters. The smuggled car is naturally much cheaper. Chi Feng doesn't care about the price, as long as he doesn't cheat him. The deal, just transfer the money directly. Chi Feng raised his hand. David Laken was naturally willing to fill up Chi Feng's car and drove directly to the open space, and then removed the black hood on Chi Feng's head. This transaction was considered very smooth. David Laken originally said to help Chi Feng get the license plate and some precautions, but Chi Feng directly refused. Chi Feng has only one request, first fill the car with gas. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. David Laken stunned for a moment, and asked a little uncertainly. Are you referring to this car, or how to get on the road? Only men know the passionate feeling at this kind of speed, this kind of invigorating speed of life and death. Chi Feng took David Laken's business card and got into the car directly, and then greeted David Laken to sit in the assistant. Then he asked, how do I drive this car? Brother Feng, I hope I can work with you again. This is my business card, David Laken said sincerely. After the transaction ends today, he can make money and play with 2 more girls. Yes, he wants to score twice. Now it's David Laken's turn to be dumbfounded. You don't know how to drive and you still buy such a good car. Are you happy if you want to hit the road? Ahahaha, it's really exciting. Chi Feng rolled down the window, and the sports car's horsepower hovered at 180, which was relatively fast. This kind of drag racing is different from Chi Feng's flying. He flies many times faster than this car, but it feels different. This is an artistic conception, a feeling, and a man's feelings. An hour later, Chi Feng knew exactly how to drive, and after bidding farewell to David Laken, he kicked the accelerator and went straight on the road. David Laken happily waved to his hands and said, bring the machine, and trade it to Brother Feng now. Let's say it again, I don't know. Chi Feng really doesn't know how to drive the car, after all, he has never had any contact with him in his previous life and this life. David Laken wiped the sweat from his forehead, looked at the car shadow in Chi Feng's distance and said, I hope he is safe. 10 minutes later, Chi Feng completed the transaction and successfully bought his first car. Oh no, it should be a sports car. However, the roads in the US are relatively empty and the roads are long, so drag racing is particularly cool. However, David Laken would not talk about these psychological thoughts. After all, he would have no food without a customer like Chi Feng. So David Laken patiently taught Chi Feng how to operate the car and how to get on the road. 14 food items that'll definitely make you smell better. Add chapter 372 Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. With the increase of passion in Chi Feng's heart, he hasn't been so happy for a long time. This is another kind of happiness, letting his heart speed with the speed of the car. Gradually the speed is getting faster and faster. 195. 210. 235. 245. Chi Feng shouted frantically in the car. The surrounding scenery passed by quickly, and the rows of trees passed by in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a truck was approaching, and it was impossible to avoid it at such a speed. The truck driver was envious of Chi Feng's sports car at first, but when he saw that it was a few hundred meters away, he was about to collide with him in the blink of an eye, and he panicked. If you hit his big truck at this speed, it will definitely crash, and it will explode if it doesn't. But he couldn't change lanes now. Even if he changed lanes, he would be finished. There was a cliff on the other side, and it would be a dead end to drive down. It's over. It's really bad luck today. I met a fatally rich second-generation lunatic in the big night. He committed evil. The truck driver was ready to collide. But the next second he was dumbfounded, and saw that the car suddenly rose to the ground when it was about to hit his car, flew up into the sky, and directly wiped the car. FK. Are there any speed cars now? The truck driver was taken aback and almost drove the car off the cliff. This FCK is too exciting. Chi Feng was also taken aback. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he might actually crash. It would be fine if he crashed into someone else. The car he just bought would be scrapped, and the truck driver might die. However, driving on the highway at this speed is indeed too dangerous. Chi Feng might be dead by now if it were not for air control. Driving a silver sports car sprinting in the sky, Chi Feng flew towards the headquarters of the Iron and Steel Alliance. The inducer wiped the bloodline at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, behind him was a blaze. The vast flame burned the Iron and Steel Alliance, and the Iron and Steel Alliance, which had been rooted for decades, was destroyed. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Killing Chief Fu cost Yins a considerable price, but fortunately, he now has an alien bloodline, and the injuries in his body are quickly recovering. Now he is a little weak, he must find a place to relax, and then take a good night's sleep. As for the Iron Alliance, let it disappear into the world with the fire. When Chi Feng drove Silb over, he found that the headquarters of the Iron and Steel Alliance had turned into ruins. What happened? He hasn't taken any action yet. The previous tentative attacks were nothing more than the destruction of hundreds of robots, and it was still impossible to destroy such a big steel alliance. So there must be some reasons and stories in this, Chi Feng doesn't know. After getting out of the car, Chi Feng went into the ruins of the Iron and Steel Alliance and searched around, and found that there was nothing else except the burnt black machine fragments, so he returned to the car and drove away. It won't be long before people from the police station and professional heroes will join. He doesn't need to be in this muddy water. Although I don't know who destroyed the Iron and Steel League, Chi Feng is still grateful to him. After all, he doesn't need to spend any money on his own. Now the United States has nothing to threaten him, and there should be no enemies, so Chi Feng plans to find a place to practice and improve his Chi training level, and it is best to build a foundation. The Decent League is also a behemoth in the United States. It is no different from the Super League. At this moment, the steel frame is quickly chasing after Chi Feng's car, and it catches up in a short while. Chi Feng stopped the car immediately. He drove 200 miles just now and was comfortable, but he saw the steel frame flying in front of him. The strength of Steel Bone is similar to that of the American captain, but the strength of the Second Emperor is not a bit worse than the current Chi Feng. But Chi Feng and the Decent Alliance are friendly, and there is no hatred at all. Steel, how did you find me? Chi Feng said unexpectedly. As far as I know, people who can threaten me no longer exist in this world, Chi Feng said facing the sea. Indeed, in Chi Feng's mind, a strong person like Captain Marvel is qualified to fight him. Of course, it is only a qualification. World Underground Heroes Association? Chi Feng has never heard of the name. I only know the Underground Heroes venue. The steel frame fell from the air, and walked in front of Chi Feng and said with a sigh. Once you and I should have been between you, but now I have to call you senior. Strong players have their own strong mid-hands, and there is one mountain as high as one mountain. When Steel Bone heard what Chi Feng said, he knew that Chi Feng didn't understand the World Underground Heroes Association at all, so he said directly, the World Underground Heroes Association is in Olympus. The reason why they are strong is nothing but 10. Many hidden world powerhouses of the first god realm. In the heyday of All Might, their strength surpassed the double god realm and reached that unknown realm. At that time, the people of the World Underground Heroes Association did not dare to make a second. Now All Might is not working, but you have risen. They will not watch the second All Might standing on their heads, so they will definitely find a way to kill you. The Underground Heroes venue is just a branch of the tens of millions of Underground Heroes venues. There are countless Underground Heroes venues in the world, and there is only one Underground Heroes Association in the world. They are stronger than the Imperial League, Gonggu said solemnly. He didn't want Chi Feng, a newly born top powerhouse, to die like this. And even if there is a strong person in the first divine realm with double quirks, it is not Chi Feng's opponent, because he still has the strength of 9 levels of Chi training, which is equivalent to adding 3 quirks in one. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. This is the truth that Steel Frame firmly believes, but today he didn't come here to question Chi Feng, so he continued. Have you heard of the World Underground Heroes Association? Chi Feng frowned slightly. It is not a concern that the steel can track him with the car, but this also reminds him that since the steel can track him, other people should also be able to track him. Although you can live that kind of life now, the meaning is completely different. Follow the steel to the edge of the cliff, and below is the blue coast. The whistling wind blows on Chi Feng and the steel, looking a little solemn. Chi Feng smiled disdainfully and said, it is stronger than the Imperial League. I am not afraid of any Imperial League at all. Even if the World Underground Heroes Association is stronger than the Imperial League, where can it be stronger? It's not in the dual god realm. The strong. There are indeed not many people who can threaten the predecessors, or almost none. Gonggu knows that Chi Feng is very strong, but the exact extent is unknown. But Gonggu feels that Chi Feng is still a little arrogant. Therefore, people in the world's first divine realm are already the strongest representatives, and Chi Feng's current strength has surpassed all first divine realm people, unless there is a strong first divine realm with double Quirk, so to fight him. Ha ha ha. I'm just having better luck than you guys. You are too polite. Chi Feng has a good sense of steel bones. To be honest, if he doesn't have a rescue system or dual Quirk, maybe he's still in the Chinese community now. Living the life of an otaku. Senior Chi Feng, I'm not here to tell you the old story. I tracked your whereabouts through the new car you bought. I'm here to tell you a piece of bad news. Gonggu said with a solemn expression. Then he signaled Chi Feng to walk a little bit to the side. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add chapter 373 The Palace of the Gods Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Gonggu continued. The World Underground Heroes Association is not only strong because they have more than a dozen top double gods, but because of their appeal. They can call on many powerful people from all over the world. As far as I know, some time ago, people from all major forces have been to Mount Olympus and reached an agreement with Zeus, the strongest member of the World Underground Heroes Association, to work together to catch you. Chi Feng suddenly felt angry. He has become so strong that there are people who dare to beat his secret ideas. The Super League and the Steel League are no longer a concern. Now there is another World Underground Heroes Association. Chi Feng is so bullied. That is to say, there will be more than a dozen, or even dozens of first-level gods who want to work together to catch me. Chi Feng laughed angrily. It can be understood that, basically the stronger underground heroes have participated, and there are dark forces, but our decent alliance did not participate, and the underground heroes of your island country did not participate, but even in this way, you can't compete with their fighting. Gonggu knew that Chi Feng had only one way to escape. Chi Feng knew that even if he had stood at the apex of a superhuman, it was impossible to deal with so many powerful people of the same level at once, and he would inevitably die if he went. Therefore, the only way to raise the cultivation base to the foundation construction period before the opponent can find him, as long as it enters the foundation construction period, even if the Olympus is blood-washed, there is nothing to fear. I know about this. Thank you for your reminder. If you encounter any trouble in the future, you can find me. Chi Feng turned and prepared to enter the car. Gonggu thought that Chi Feng knew the seriousness of the matter, and now it is estimated that he wanted to escape, so he said again. Senior, I can track your car, and other people can also track it, so don't use this instead. I don't know why Chi Feng likes to drive a sports car. According to a strong man like him, the flying speed is definitely much faster than that of a sports car, so a sports car is a kind of irrelevant thing. Thank you, and say hello to your decent alliance for me. Chi Feng drove away quickly. I hope Senior Chi can escape this disaster. Steelbone sighed as he looked at Chi Feng, who was going away, and then quickly left the place. If the World Underground Heroes Association knows that he informs Chi Feng of these things, the decent alliance will definitely fall into dire straits. Chi Feng stepped on the accelerator and drove more than 290 steps on the open road. This is to protect the car, otherwise Chi Feng would drive more than 300 steps. Since the Kamiya district became famous in the First World War, the fantasies of many evil people have been suppressed. I thought that no one would dare to provoke him, but the result is endless. Now there is another place like the World Underground Heroes Association. Chi Feng has had enough, he must build a foundation. Silber flew up into the sky and flew towards the islands on the sea. Those are no man's land, just for Chi Feng to build a foundation. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. If you practice in a hotel, there will be a lot of noise, and it may damage public facilities, so it is better to be an uninhabited island. 10 minutes later, Chi Feng entered an uninhabited island, which is more of a peak than an island. This peak stands above the sea, and the top of the peak is only a few thousand square meters. It just so happens that the top of the peak is flat, as if it was flattened. Chi Feng parked the sports car on the top of the peak and directly took out the training futon and walked to the middle position to sit down. Only then did he raise his hand to take out the metal box and take out the spirit stone inside. It's a strong spiritual energy, Chi Feng said excitedly. With this spiritual stone, he should have no problem building genes. Directly ate a chi pill, Chi Feng crossed his legs, placed the lingxi in his palm and began to absorb the aura, and the futon under his butt also played a very good supporting role. Just 1 week of the week's exercise, Chi Feng felt an unprecedented fluctuation of spiritual energy, his eyes showed surprise, and he began to practice madly. On a high mountain in Greece, here is Mount Olympus. Because he is the second most wanted man in the world, the dragon god would still be the first if Ross did not appear on the earth. When everyone saw the person speaking, their hearts were subconsciously tensed. Few people dared to answer after Zeus had finished speaking, and this person wearing a golden dragon suit was definitely one of them. Such a huge lineup is all about dealing with Chi Feng. It is not impossible for these people to send out to destroy a big country. It is an extremely powerful force. This palace is called the Temple of the Gods. The palace is magnificent and full of brilliance. At the moment, The palace is full of people, but it is all in order, and no one makes a lot of noise. In fact, this Olympus was named by those strong. After all, the real Olympus is on Mars, and there is a real Olympus in mythology. Zeus should be the strongest among all people here. It is said that Zeus's current strength is about to enter that unknown field, but it does not seem to be, but no one dares to be disrespectful to Zeus. The World Underground Heroes Association is one. If the power of terror is offended, it is possible that one's own power will be destroyed. The 17 seats were full of people, and they were all headed by Zeus, as well as Poseidon, Hades, Ares, Athena, Apollo, Hermes, Sirens, and Prometheus, Aphrodite, Artemis, etc. Sitting on the main seat of the Temple of the Gods is a middle-aged man with white hair and white beard. He is wearing a silver armor and seems to be able to radiate light by himself. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. There are 8 positions on his left and right sides, plus his theme, and there are 17 positions. Everyone below responded and expressed their respect for Zeus. This is natural. Just after Zeus said that, a person wearing a golden dragon suit said, "Then Chi Feng has become extremely arrogant since entering the small world, and his strength has increased very quickly. Suspect that he got a chance in that small world." The Olympus is on a snow-capped mountain, and there is a huge palace on top of the snow-capped mountain, very similar to the style of ancient Greece. "I'm glad you can all come. I am here to express my gratitude," Zeus stood up and said to everyone below. In fact, people who have reached their level can already be called gods on the earth. "Sit down." Zeus pressed his hand and motioned everyone to sit down. He waited until everyone was seated before he continued. "Last time we had a meeting and called everyone to come. I didn't expect the people who came this time. More, I think everyone is interested in that Chi Feng, the legend of the night, right? These people are supernormal people who wear the title of gods. They fear gods and want to be gods. In addition to them, there are more than 40 people sitting in the guest seats and resting in an orderly manner. The auras in these people are extremely strong. Almost all of them are powerhouses in the double god realm, and the rest are royal level powerhouses. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Add what is the most common plastic surgery in Korea? Add chapter 374 Chi Feng's Confidence Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Zeus also had to give some face to the dragon god. After the dragon god said these words, Zeus nodded and said, "The dragon god is right. Then Chi Feng is very likely to get a chance in the small world, so his strength has improved by leaps and bounds. So the problem lies here. I think everyone knows how difficult it is to train your quirk. Even if you have reagents, which can improve your quirk, you can't use it more, or if you use it too much, it won't be too much. It works, but Chi Feng is different. After he came out of the small world, his strength should already be an imperial powerhouse, and he is also the best among the imperial level powerhouses." Zeus became more excited as he spoke. Not only that, how long has it been? In such a short time, his strength has broken through the imperial realm, entered the god level realm, and stood at the top of the god level realm. When Zeus talked about this, all the talents reacted thoroughly, and Chi Feng's growth rate was too appalling. You must know that a strong man like Zeus is already in his 70s or 80s. Although he looks like a middle-aged man, this is because of his strength and his youth. Just like mortals and monks in the foundation building period, mortals can live up to more than 100 years old, while monks in the foundation building period can live at least 500 years old, and they are considered middle-aged when they are almost 300 years old. Zeus now belongs to the middle age, and it is estimated that it will be almost 200 years old when Zeus dies. This kind of person should be very difficult to kill, and he is the owner of the double quirk. Even the top powerhouse like AFO has been defeated by him. It's really scary. At this moment, a dark man said, with eyes all over his body, "It's all black." Many people have recognized this person as the most wanted criminal in the world after Dragon God, Shadow. It is said that the shadow is extremely dark. No matter where it is completely dark, so at night you can't see him at all, and if you are killed by him, you don't know how to die. That's why Zeus summoned you to come together, ready to catch this Chi Feng. Poseidon, who was sitting on the left side of Zeus, stood up, still holding a blue trident in his hand, with the smell of the sea. At this moment, the demon babe who was in the guest seat below suddenly said, "There is no doubt that so many of us will be dispatched and he will die, but don't we need to consider the professional heroes and the people on the justice side?" Basically everyone in the audience knows Babe the Devil. This is the master of the demon hall. It is said that the demon hunter in the demon hall was killed by Chi Feng. There is no need to care about the professional heroes and the righteous side. All we want to capture is the legend of the night. It is not to cause a war of the world powerhouses. It does not matter. At most, some people who have a good relationship with Chi Feng will help, but it's all rubbish in the imperial realm. When Lousy comes, kill it, Hades said proudly, holding a red sickle in his hand. Since everything has been arranged, when shall we go on the road to capture Chi Feng? Other strong men asked. Don't worry, the person I sent out must have found Chi Feng by now. We can just wait for their news. If Chi Feng meets and comes to the Temple of the Gods, It will save us going out to find him. Apollo 1 The deputy is in control. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Some people despise it. A fool would take the initiative to send it to the door. It is not easy to cheat it, but he still wants Chi Feng to take the initiative to come to the door. People are not stupid. This is already a week after Chi Feng's practice. The spiritual energy around his body was very violent. A few minutes later, he heard a small creak. Chi Feng immediately stopped practicing with a shock. At this moment, the spiritual stone in his hand shrank from the size of a baby's fist. Table tennis size. Chi Feng knew that he could no longer continue to practice because he felt that someone was coming, and he had touched the foundation building barrier. In this situation, only one foundation building pill is needed to attract thunder. Moreover, his current strength is much stronger than before. The 9th level of Chi training is at the pinnacle, and Lingmen is about to step into the base building period. Originally, I wanted to cross the robbery here, but at this time 2 figures were flying quickly from a distance. Chi Feng put everything away and looked at the 2 people who came quickly. After 10 seconds, the 2 figures fell 50 meters away from Chi Feng. The 2 men are tall and short, a man and a woman. The man is almost 3 meters tall and has an eagle-headed body. The female is of standard height, but with snakes in her hair, she looks disgusting. These 2 men are Zeus's men, so it can be said that they are capable men. One was called Horus, who was the patron saint of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. Of course, this was a fake god, but he really guarded the Egyptian pharaohs. The other woman is called Medusa, who is also a member of Greek mythology and is a demon. However, the one in front of him is naturally fake. Whether it is a decent alliance, a super alliance, or a Greek god, all of them have their own bodies and no gods in this world. Commonly known as advanced cosplay, but they have absolute power and have completely integrated themselves into this role, because they feel that they are the deity, not a fake. If I guess right, you should be members of the Underground Heroes Association? Chi Feng looked at these 2 people plainly. These 2 guys are both in the dual divine realm, but they are only people in the 2nd divine realm. Yes, we are from the Underground Heroes Association and from Zeus, Horus said condescendingly, looking at Chi Feng. If you know how to follow us, I can't do it to you. Chi Feng actually wanted to laugh, and wanted to say, do you think that the 2 second gods combined can beat the powerhouse of the first god? But Chi Feng didn't plan to kill these 2 guys, because now he just wants to go to those people like Zeus. After all, he is going to cross the robbery. Okay, I'll go with you and get in the car. Chi Feng came to the side of the sports car and got in the driving seat, and greeted the 2 guys to get in the car together. Horus and Medusa glanced at each other. Is there a problem with this guy's brain? I thought there was going to be a fierce battle. Who knew that this guy didn't play cards according to the routine and wanted to go directly with them? You were a car. How can you fly? Horus felt wrong just after saying this. If the other party's car can't fly, why would it stop on this peak? Do you want me to go? So much nonsense? Chi Feng was a little impatient. Medusa motioned to Horus, then looked at Chi Feng and said, I advise you not to play tricks, otherwise you will die miserably. Get in the car quickly. Chi Feng urged. Medusa only got on the car with Horus at this time. To be honest, this is the first time they have built this kind of car. Because they can fly, they don't need transportation. Medusa can't fly and needs Horus to take it. But Medusa has never made this kind of sports car. Chi Feng did not start the car, but directly used the air to control him to fly and head towards the direction Horus said, very fast. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction, second element novel can be read at hotmtl novel for free. Chapter 375. Come Alone Bitcoin Bank. A young millionaire explains how she makes 28,000 Hong Kong dollars a day. A former banker explains how she became rich. Learn more. Horus and Medusa thought that Chi Feng should not be a fool, but the signs and the way of speaking are exactly the same as that of a fool. Only a fool would follow them so honestly. You must know that in the Temple of the Gods, there are top 40 or 50 top powerhouses waiting to divide him. However, he is still so obedient to go. What is this, not a fool? Or maybe Chi Feng really thinks he is invincible in the world. No one can clean him up. Obviously this is impossible. There are many people who can clean up Chi Feng. Zeus can clean up Chi Feng. The other people are only to keep Chi Feng under control. When the spoils are finally divided, Zeus can occupy the bulk, and Zeus will make money anyway. The distance from the United States to Greece is very long. Chi Feng just let the car fly thousands of kilometers in the air and then stopped, then let the 2 guys get off the car. Why don't you leave? Horus asked with a frown. Has this guy changed his mind? I'm tired. Why don't you carry me away? Chi Feng spread his hands and said. What are you talking about? When Horston was furious, he actually wanted to ride on his back and let him walk on his back, knowing that he had to take Medusa with him. Chi Feng looked at Horus in surprise and said, aren't you going to take me away? I'm tired now and can't walk anymore. How can you take me back? Medusa couldn't stand the conversation between the two, and said directly, get on the private plane, I'll arrange it. An hour later, a small passenger plane landed on them. Chi Feng took out the food and started eating after getting on the plane. Horus and Medusa couldn't understand Chi Feng. They were serious about being so confident. After the plane took off, it flew towards the foot of Mount Olympus. The three people were speechless. Chi Feng was eating all the way. How to fight if you don't eat for a while? In the eyes of Horus and Medusa, what Chi Feng ate was equivalent to the Last Supper. In the early hours of the next morning, the sky just broke, and Chi Feng's plane just arrived in Greece. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. After getting off the plane, Chi Feng followed Horus and Medusa to the Temple of the Gods on Mount Olympus. At this moment, there are still those people in the Temple of the Gods. They haven't left here all night, because Zeus has already received news from Horus that he is coming here with Chi Feng. In Zeus's mind, it should be possible for Horus to add Medusa's ability to deal with Chi Feng. The news did not mention the battle, which means that the two sides had never fought. Then the only possibility is that Chi Feng was scared, so he came to the Temple of the Gods voluntarily. At dawn, a golden sun slowly rose. Horus and Medusa led Chi Feng into the Temple of the Gods. Coming. A strong man suddenly shouted. As the voice fell, all the people in the Temple of the Gods looked towards the entrance of the hall, and saw Chi Feng walk in calmly and without fear at all. Chi Feng glanced over everyone, and he already had a general understanding of the strength of everyone present. It can be said that if he doesn't build a foundation, he will definitely be killed in battle here. Especially the person in the middle of the front. Chi Feng felt the energy in his body similar to himself, which should be the power of thunder and lightning. Doesn't it all say that there are no Thunder Quirk people in the world except Thor Horta? Among the people present, Chi Feng knew some of them. The Hall Master of the Magic Hall, Babe. The photo of this person was shown to him by North before, so I remembered, and the three of the Super League, Captain Marvel, Gui Mage and Domom. Chi Feng became a little puzzled. According to the truth, the American captain has already reconciled with him. Why are these three guys still participating? If these three guys are not here to deal with him, Chi Feng absolutely does not believe it. Then there is only one possibility, that these three guys did not take their words to heart, nor did they care about the words of the US captain. Except for these relatively familiar people, Chi Feng doesn't know anyone else. These people are basically strong in the dual god realm, and they are all very powerful. Only a few imperial-level powerhouses mixed in the crowd to fill up the number. These people added up. Chi Feng has no chance of winning at all. Horus and Medusa stood at the entrance of the main hall, blocking Chi Feng's path, and Chi Feng thus walked to the center of the Temple of the Gods. There are people on both sides of him. These strong men are all sitting on their seats, and only Chi Feng is standing. The legend of the knight Chi Feng, I have long heard of your name. You dare to come alone today enough to show your courage, but sometimes courage is useless in this world. What you lack is wisdom. Zeus saw Chi Feng didn't feel anxious when he arrived, but he wanted to talk for a while. Chi Feng didn't plan to do it at this time, but smiled and asked, presumably you are Zeus, right? Then tell me, what wisdom do I lack? Presumptuous. Poseidon stood up immediately, and the blue trident in his hand shouted at Chi Feng. How dare you be so rude to Zeus? Do you want to die now? Poseidon. Zeus glanced at Poseidon. The meaning was obvious, let him not talk too much. Poseidon suppressed the anger in his heart and sat down. Right, anyway. Chi Feng will definitely die anyway, even if it is rude. It doesn't matter if people are arrogant. Chi Feng has been arrogant for so long anyway. Zeus then turned his gaze on Chi Feng and said earnestly, I am Zeus. In fact, I want to tell you that you have such a great ability to hide. Instead of blindly high profile and arrogant, it will put you in a dangerous situation and die sooner. Ha 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 ha. Chi Feng laughed loudly, but in the eyes of others, Chi Feng laughed like a fool. At this time, he laughed. Aren't you Zeus the same high profile and arrogant? Chi Feng sneered. It's just that you have a group of better subordinates. These people follow you and grow up together, and you have long regarded you as relatives. You have people. Naturally there will be power, and when you have power, you will naturally not be afraid of others. And me? I have nothing. I basically rely on myself to this day, not the help of others. Of course, those who have helped me I remember everyone. After Chi Feng said these words, everyone felt that his mind was a little more normal. Indeed, Chi Feng said these words are reasonable. If Zeus did not have so many double gods around him, he would not survive today, unless it is very unusual. Low-key and careful. When Zeus's power became huge and indestructible, not many people would dare to attack him. Zeus was a bit thought-provoking by Chi Feng's words. It is not easy to get to where he is today. He has killed many people and been injured by many people, but now, those people have become withered bones, or they will hide in a corner to linger. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chinese MTL fan fiction second element novel can be read at hotmtlnovel for free. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles ad.